Hello and welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
Today is the best day of my life, Ben. How are you doing?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. We have an amazing guest with us who I'm a massive fan of her channel. I've watched a lot of her content. She's definitely made me question my view of many things. So we're super excited to have you here with us. Keith, I'll throw it over to you. You can intro our guest and then we'll get into it.
Yes. So I want to make sure that I get the name right. I forgot to ask before we went live, but is it Radhika Desai?
That's it. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. We have Radhika Desai with us today, and she is a professor in the Department of Political Studies at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, Canada. And also correct me here on anything I get wrong. And the director of its Geopolitical Economy Research Group. You host the Geopolitical Economy Hour on YouTube, a show where you describe socialist and that you describe as socialist and anti-imperialist. And you've written a few books, including Geopolitical Economy, After U.S. Hegemony, and then another book, Globalization and Empire, another book called Intellectuals and Socialism, and many other books, one most recently being Capitalism, Coronavirus, and War. So you have a PhD from Queen's University that you got back in 1992. And one of the things that I thought was the most interesting that's in our notes here is that you call yourself a political economist, not an economist. And if anyone calls you an economist, you will correct them. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to. It's one of my favorite topics. So I call myself a political economist, and indeed I call myself a geopolitical economist. Geopolitical economy is the term that I coined when I wrote that book, just before, obviously, I finished it. And I coined it that way because I'm deeply opposed to what passes for economics. I think that what you learn when you take economics as a subject in university or in school, if you are unfortunate enough to have to learn it in school, is basically a set of fairy tales about how a capitalist economy really works. And so it is absolutely lousy at enabling you to understand how the way it works. And by calling myself a political economist, I'm actually reaching back to a tradition of thinking about how a capitalist economy really works that goes back to Adam Smith and even before, which was a very different way of thinking about it, which understood, for example, that there was such a thing as value, that capitalism was about producing value and appropriating value and amassing value in the form of money. And that it was this was unique because every other type of society directly produce use values. You know, if you need food, you produce food. If you need roads, you produce roads. If you need hospitals, you produce hospitals, etc. But this is a very unique system. So political economy, going back to that point, like Adam Smith and even earlier, had been trying to understand how this capitalist economy functioned, what was value, how did exploitation take place in it, and so on. And it was brought to a culmination by Karl Marx. So that was, and then more or less, you know, basically a few years after Marx's great work Capital, the first volume of his great work Capital was published, you had the advent of an absolutely radically new type of discourse, shall we say, a new type of scholarship. I hate to call it scholarship because it isn't really, but a new type of discourse, shall we say, which purported to describe the functioning of something called the economy, whereas in classical political economy, from Smith to Ricardo to Marx and many others, the economy is not separate from the rest of society. It is connected, or everything is connected, and it's a historical whole. So the emergence of neoclassical economics, which is what we are taught when we take economics, it basically severed the connection between new generations of people who would study these things and the classical tradition of political economy. So I say that I hark back to that. And I should say one more thing before I stop. And that is that this new neoclassical economics, which was born in the late 19th century and developed over subsequent decades, it always has had an enormous amount of opposition to it. I mean, if you think about, after Marx, who was the greatest thinker about the capitalist economy? It was John Maynard Keynes. John Maynard Keynes was profoundly opposed to this neoclassical economics. But nevertheless, we are still taught that in universities and so on, because it is the only ideology which, for the last 100 years and more, can justify capitalism. Practically every other way of thinking about it cannot justify it.
Thank you for sharing that. And we are getting some messages in the chat that it's cutting out quite a bit. What we could try is you turning off your video, and that may improve the quality of things. If you want to try clicking the video button, that may help. We'll try like this. Chat, please let us know if you're able to hear her better. But one question I had for you off of that was that you intro every one of your episodes with the same tagline that your show discusses the fast-changing political and geopolitical economy of our time from a socialist and anti-imperialist point of view. A lot of people hear these words and there's not like a shared understanding of what they even mean. So could you explain to us what you mean when you say socialist and anti-imperialist?
Of course, I think that these are highly contested terms, and in recent times in particular, both terms have a lot of confusion around them, and that is part of the fast-changing political and geopolitical economy of our times. So what do I mean by that? So first of all, the term socialism, of course, has been de-radicalized, going back a long way. So, going back even into the early 20th century, what parties of the working class, which were marching under the banner of Marxism, themselves moderated their demands. They became reformists. They thought that working people can attain a better future, a better life within the terms of capitalism just by reforming it. Now, I'm not against reform. I think you would have to, in order to get to socialism, you'd have to go through a series of reforms. The difficulty lies not with the reforms, but with the thinking that reforms are enough and that you can keep the structures of capitalism in place and still do well as working people. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the term anti-imperialist has also become highly confused in recent times. So anti-imperialist used to mean the opposition, mean opposition, both within the imperialist countries and outside the imperialist countries, among the colonies, opposition to the imperialism that is necessary for capitalism to exist. Capitalism is contradictory. It cannot exist without a subordinated a periphery upon which it can impose the cost of its contradictions, of trying to deal with its contradictions. And so the capitalist state is, inherently imperialist. And so this, and of course, that in the early 20th century, the imperialism reached a peak. I mean, in 1914, the imperialism of the capitalist countries was at its peak. Since then, it has been declining, but that doesn't mean that the capitalist countries are not doing everything in their power to retain, to keep certain territories subordinated. This is why we are experiencing these series of wars, etc. But the term imperialism has become, again, misunderstood, because today we are told that, say, Russia is imperialist or China is imperialist. But first of all, it's empirically not held up. I think that both Russia and China have been rather defensive in their foreign policy postures. It's the West that is aggressive and so on. And so Russia and China are actually explicitly trying to fight for a multipolar world, a world in which power is much more widely spread, and it is the West that is resisting the emergence of a multipolar world. So I agree that both of these terms are misunderstood, and I'd be happy to clarify further, but I still stick to these because it is meaningful. It makes sense to me because socialism is still a situation in which you are, or socialism is still the goal insofar as you are trying to end the exploitation of workers, and the end of imperialism is also a goal, because you are trying to end the exploitation of the subordinated peripheries of the world. And both of these are united in requiring the end of capitalism.
Keith, you got something?
I mean, there's so many different directions to go in. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is something you said towards the end around the exploitation of workers. Is that concept fundamental to capitalism? And if so, what is that definition of the exploitation of workers in your mind?
It's very simple. I mean, if you ask a lot of other Marxists, they will tell you that there is such a thing as, they'll give you, confuse you with all sorts of, formulae and equations and so on. But I have a very simple way of explaining it. The purpose of capitalism is to extract surplus value, that is, more value than they put into production. And the only way they can do that is by employing workers who are capable of producing much more than they are themselves worth. It's a very simple thing. Imagine that I hire you at $100 a day. I would only hire you at $100 a day if I knew that by employing you, you would produce not only $100 worth of goods for me, but you would produce far more than that. Because if I employed you and I paid you $100 and only produced $100 worth, what would be the point? I might as well keep my $100, not pay them to you. Does that make sense?
Love it.
So the whole premise of capitalism is, and capitalism would not exist if we human beings, we workers, were not capable of producing a lot more than we require to produce and reproduce ourselves over days and weeks and months. So the what we require to produce and reproduce ourselves is the wage that we get, the salary that we get. But that is completely a different quantity from what we are capable of producing, which is usually more. And that is the only reason why a capitalist employs a worker.
Appreciate that. So every question that I'm asking here is going to be coming from a place of I want you to assume complete ignorance of me. Okay.
Sure.
So my question comes then in, so the capitalist or let's say the director of the organization um, is doing a task to some degree of managing, right, the people and making sure that they're able to work together to hopefully create a synergistic sort of outcome, right? So a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of a thing when you have multiple people working together towards some objective. Is it the idea that that person should not be able to capture the benefit of being the organizer of these people and their labor? Or is it that, like, should that value be going somewhere else, like back to the people? Is that kind of the idea, or how do you reconcile that thinking?
Sure. Sure. So, first of all, that's very interesting. Marx had many criticisms of Adam Smith, but he completely agreed with Adam Smith that human the human capacity to produce rises as more and more human beings cooperate, as you put it, synergistically. Cooperate in a way that works. You can have a form of cooperation where many hands make light work, but you can also have a cooperation in which too many cooks spoil the broth. So you can have bad and good forms of cooperation, but in its right form, cooperation can increase production and productivity. Now, historically, this different coordinating the work of different people can, people have coordinated on their own accord. They have not necessarily had to have the production of surplus value. The thing is that by claiming to coordinate people, the capitalist takes the right to extract surplus value. That is to say, extract more out of the production than he or she may have put in. And the work of coordination can be done by people themselves. If imagine the three of us agreed to cooperate on some enterprise, we don't need to have a capitalist to coordinate our work. We can agree on how we are going to work together, and we can all share equally in the benefits of the work that we produce.
So,
That's the idea.
But with that, though, as someone who runs a business, there may be 3 people involved, let's say, but it's almost never equally distributed in terms of where the values is really coming from.
Yeah, and if you can pay somebody to be a manager, you can even pay the manager a little bit more, so long as it's just a function being performed. But the capitalist gets more than just the wage of a manager.
But if
The
they
capitalist gets what he wants because he owns or she owns the means of production, and you and I don't own the means of production.
Totally. But with that, if the employer is, or sorry, the employee, let's say, or the worker, whatever, is taking on substantially less risk or less time involvement, are you still thinking that everything should be split equally?
Yes, I mean, typically, I would say that this idea that the employer is taking a lot of risk, this is not necessarily the case. For example, these days, our capitalists are refusing to invest, period, simply because they don't wish to take risk. And the point is, what is the if something needs to be produced, it needs to be produced. Where is the risk? It's in the anarchy of capitalist production that you even have this sort of risk taking. But if you have a planned economy, if you say, okay, this year we need to produce, I don't know, so many tons of grain and so many miles of road, that's a no-brainer. People need those things. Do you see? And so and in fact, within capitalism itself, what you find very often is the downloading of risk, particularly now with the gig economy. So in the gig economy, you as the worker, the gig worker, are taking the risk that there may not be enough demand for what you have. The capitalist, the platform company, is taking absolutely no risk. They're downloading risk. In the case of franchising and outsourcing, again, typically it is the smaller a capitalist who is made to bear the risk of, say, for example, imagine that I'm a tomato farmer and I've been franchised by a Pepsi company to deliver to them whatever it is, a ton of tomatoes every day of the exact quality specification. Now, if they are not the exact quality specification they want, they can reject my delivery. The risk is all mine. I take the risk that I can persuade nature to produce the exact weight and color and texture of tomatoes that PepsiCo wants from me. There are many other such things. For example, with just-in-time delivery, I may imagine I'm producing, I don't know, car seats. And so GM down the road expects me to deliver car seats as and when it needs them. But when I produce, I have to keep enough of a supply on hand so that whenever GM wants it, I am able to deliver, which means I have to bear the warehousing cost. I have to bear the interest costs of all the things. So actually, the idea that a capitalist entrepreneur takes risks is riddled with problems.
While I agree with you in terms of the higher level operators within this environment, as an entrepreneur myself at the bottom of the food chain, I can say unequivocally I take on substantially more risk than anybody that I'm paying. So how and I'm willing to do that because I spot a gap in the marketplace that I want to go fill. And so in turn, I'm taking on that risk because I believe in the upside. So then would this approach not stifle me?
Yeah, but you and dozens of others. Look, you and dozens of others can spot the same gap, but you have the capacity, the capital, to be able to make the investment necessary, small or large.
So why is that different than, so why is that
I mean,
relevant?
people are not dumb. People are not. sorry, it's relevant because what allows you to take that, allegedly take that risk, is not your smarts. Lots of people are smart enough to see the same thing, but only you have the capital
I'm not
to
sure I
do it
completely
with.
agree with that perspective, but I definitely hear what you're saying. But so then, if you're saying that, then if it is just coordination, then why wouldn't the people just go coordinate and do a split then?
Because they do not own the means of production,
But in this
and the
scenario,
means
would
of
they not
production
if
get
they're
more.
splitting?
Well, okay, imagine the three of us decided to split. If, for example, the enterprise we wish to undertake requires, I don't know, $30,000 or $300,000, we simply don't have that money. It's those who have the money that can make the investment.
I definitely, I
There
totally
are
hear what you're
lots of
saying.
people with empty pockets and a lot of brains.
Yeah, but I think there's also the opposite is true as well.
But opposite.
And well, I'm
What do you
saying that
mean?
there's a
What
lot
is
of,
the opposite?
maybe I didn't phrase that properly, but I think there's a lot of people who they don't know what to do, but they want to get paid like they do.
Okay, so first of all, as I said, there are lot more people who know exactly what to do. There is there's to me that
How do you quantify that?
the idea that somehow, let me put it this way. There are studies that show that the correlation between parents' income and wealth and that of the next generation is much higher than it should be if you believe that everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Inequality is passed down from generation to generation. Privileges are passed down from generation to generation. If you think that you are doing very well because you are just so smart, well, I'm afraid you've got another thing coming. I mean, there are a lot of smart people in the world who are not doing well through no fault of their own.
I hear you.
And there are barriers of class, there are barriers of gender, there are barriers of race, there are barriers of religion. You name it, everything has been weaponized in order to keep the majority of the people in their place.
Understood. Keith, were
And
you about
we
to say?
live in a time in the history of, sorry, just one more point. We live in a time in the history of our societies when inequality is higher than it has ever been. It is higher than it has been under feudalism and times of kings and lords and ladies. It is higher than it was in the gilded age of the United States back in the early 20th century. It is absolutely through the roof. We live in a time when some people can go for a jaunt in space just because they feel like it.
So the thing that I wanted to um, go in on a little bit too is this concept of the risk taking of the entrepreneur. Um, this concept specifically, I think, when it comes to the larger businesses, is where I've heard the most uh, compelling sort of take against the current system that we have, which is that um, this concept of what we have today is not even really in the United States a capitalist system, but potentially one that is more of a corporate socialism, where when the bigger, larger organization has an issue where it fails, there's actually a little bit of a backstop that a government will come in and provide, and maybe it's on a collection of entities, for instance, like what happened in '08, uh, where there's a safety net that the government is providing, and the government really being the people who are also paying taxes and supporting this existence and continuation of that government. They're supporting these businesses to continue this exploitation, if that's how you're viewing that. What is your take on some of that I'm saying? Is that in alignment with your ideals, or what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm absolutely opposed to it. I mean, we only call it socialism of for the wealthy in an ironic fashion. Of course, it's not socialism. Socialism, if the US state back in 2008 and 9 had been socialist, it would have bailed out the ordinary people who lost homes, jobs, etc. Instead, it left them to the none too tender mercies of the market, and it bailed out the big corporate capitalists, the big financial capitalists who had who had created this problem in the first place, who essentially generated the toxic securities, which eventually created the bubble, and eventually the bubble burst, and all of this wealth was essentially lost. And it's these were the people who were bailed out, the people who created the problem in the first place, not the ordinary people. That's not socialism. And exactly, it's not just the government, it is the state. You have a state that is something that is more enduring than a government. It refers to the power structure of the country. You have a state in the United States and in most other capitalist countries that are committed to the welfare of not even the small mom and pop petty capitalist, but only the biggest capitalists are in the system. They are committed to the welfare of the big financial institutions, to the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and what have you, but not even the small or medium capitalists. I mean, they are being shafted, which is partly why, by the way, you have these sort of populist movements where even relatively smaller capitalists are complaining about the system because they no longer benefit from that system. Everything is run in favor of the biggest corporations.
Yeah, I think people can feel that for sure.
Yeah. Another question that I have is, like, it feels to me at least that a lot of people have been moving toward wanting socialism. And I guess I'm curious as to, and this is like in the West, I feel that that's kind of what the world is moving toward. Um, can you help to illustrate some of why you feel like this, or if you agree that this is happening now, and also why it hadn't happened before? Why has the United States made it to a 250th anniversary, and only now is it like a pressing thing that the United States needs to move towards socialism, or is that a complete misassessment of what's going on?
I think that the US has been here before. The at the end of the 19th century, you had these populist movements, against the gold standard, for example. What's his name? Brian Jennings, or whatever his name was. I forget. I'm sorry, I forget his name, but he was an important leader. And so, and of course, during the Great Depression, there was a great deal of, I would say, popular support for Roosevelt's New Deal and so on. So and of course, in the end, Roosevelt basically only ran his New Deal for 4 years, during which, of course, the United States recovered a great deal. But and then Roosevelt basically gave in to the opposition of the capitalists. The capitalists objected to it, and he gave in, and so he suspended his New Deal, and the United States was back into depression. It was not until the Second World War that the World War pulled it out of recession. So that's the one thing I want to say, is that capitalism generates these problems for itself, because basically, as I say, capitalism relies on exploitation, which means that there is always a how can you say, there's always inequality. Now, for a time after the Second World War, for about 3 decades, maybe 3.5 decades, you had a compromise between the capitalist class and the working class, even in countries like the United States, where basically there was this fairly substantial welfare state. Unions were tolerated, wages were relatively high, thanks to a great deal of practically socialist kind of legislation, regulation, etc. You had an expanding economy in which ordinary working people did okay. So, although I would say also that in the United States, of course, there's always been the racial divide, and it is easy to exaggerate the extent to which African American people did well, even during those decades. But anyway, but then, since about 1980, since Ronald Reagan, what has happened is that around the world, around the capitalist world anyway, and the rich, around all the rich countries, basically little by little, um, these socialistic type of arrangements have been attacked, they have been rolled back, and you now have capitalism as it looks in its nakedness, and it looks exceedingly ugly. And I would say that even then, there have been, there have been lots of reasons why things have not, people have not been talking about socialism until now. One is, of course, that even at the height of the sort of welfarist type of arrangements in the United States, there was a profound anti-communism, and this anti-communist rhetoric, anti-socialist rhetoric, has never gone away. You are made to believe that socialism does not work, that it is very difficult. It would be foolish to opt for socialism. That even if capitalism doesn't give you a good deal, it's much better than socialism. These are the sorts of tropes that have been around for a long time. And so that is one reason. Second reason is that even when the United States and other rich countries entered into this era of neoliberalism in circa 1980, what the society that entered this era was still relatively robust. It had been wealthy, so it took a while for this to if you're a very healthy person has to suffer from lack of food, initially they will be fine. It's only after a while that the problem will begin to tell. So we are now coming to that phase. And also for through the 90s and the 2000s, there was a certain amount of bubble driven growth. But now, even though we have a sort of bubble driven growth, unfortunately, a bubble driven economy requires such levels of inequality that today inequality has absolutely gone through the roof, such that ordinary Americans, I mean, I think you probably have read the statistics, but something like 40% of Americans don't have as much as $500 to fall back on should they have a crisis. As much as 50% of them do not have $1,000 in their bank if they were to fall back. And the other statistic, you can look it up, but the difference between, we are always told that the mean income in the United States, the average income in the United States, is in the realm of some $80,000 a year. Now, that's a lot of money. But if you look at the median income, the point below which 50% of the US population exists and above which is the other 50%, the median income is far lower than the mean income, which means that the absolutely astronomical incomes earned by people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and so on drags the average up. So it gives you the false illusion that the United States is very prosperous. The United States is not very prosperous at all. And by the way, that is one of the key reasons why Trump is losing control. Trump is losing support. Trump is losing support. He knows he's in for a really bad knocking, because at the end of the day, people do not ignore what's happening to their bank accounts and their pocketbooks. That's what will determine a large part of the voting that takes place in November.
Thank you for all that. So we had a comment in the chat where they said, we all want change and we are going to get it, but those in power will never relinquish it. So all the things that you're saying right now, I see, I haven't experienced because I'm not in America, but I see other people going through it as well. Do you think that they would attempt to try to do something drastic to keep the game going, essentially? Pitch something slightly different, say it's something new, just to keep it going?
Look, I mean, the only way that you can organize production, if you're not going to keep a capitalist economy, is to organize production collectively by, through some sort of democratic planning mechanism. And there is no doubt, by the way, people always say revolutions are violent. Revolutions are almost never violent until the point comes when the established power structures fight back in order to resist the revolution. That's when the violence happens. And unfortunately, people in the United States have already seen what the Trump administration is doing on the streets of the United States with these ICE raids and so on. These are absolutely horrific. things that are going on. People's rights are being violated up and down, the streets of the US. And I think gives you a picture of what is to come. There's a reason why, for many years, you're probably too young to remember the fight against apartheid. But even some of the people most committed to lifting of apartheid in South Africa would say, why doesn't the ANC give up its right to use armed struggle? Well, why would it? The state is armed to the teeth. How are you going to resist that?
So with that being said, especially with where technology has gotten to a point now where I think the public knows that if anything were to come to any point of violence, there isn't really anything that the public could do, right? So how do you even coordinate to create change when there is that threat of violence?
I think that every apparatus of violence needs people to carry it out. And revolutions have usually succeeded by winning over the armies, ordinary soldiers, if not their generals, and so on. You win over the army. You convince the army to say, revolutions have occurred because the soldiers will say, I'm not firing on my fellow country people.
Right. So a couple of things on that. I mean, technology is making it to where at the least you won't need as many people, right, to be on uh, your side in terms of if you're on the inside of the system. You've got drones, you've got potential literal robots as well, humanoid bots coming into the equation. Obviously, surveillance at an intense level alone, where you could have, a set of people who run a company like Palantir that could have a massive sort of swaying over that um, power balance. Um, and in the United States in particular, we have already seen moments where, for instance, generals or whatever kind of like getting fired if they're not in line, or let me just say it this way. They stepped away from their positions when these types of conversations needed to be had around whether or not the government was being used, the army was being used in a way that would be against its own people, essentially illegally. Like, do we really feel like that's not a possibility here, or how
I
do you
think,
think about that?
okay, yeah, sure. So, first of all, let me say that there is a cult of technology, particularly among young people. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like some older person wagging her finger at you, but there is definitely a cult of technology, and there's a certain generational element to it. So let me break it down for you by a few thoughts. The first thought I would offer is that most people think that the technology today is absolutely whiz bang, but the technology today you could learn to live without. The very famous economist Robert Gordon, who's written quite a lot about the limitations of technology today, points out that if you ask a class of 18-year-olds whether they prefer to live without their phones or without plumbing, with indoor water supply and water drainage, they would almost always pick the phone. I can't live without my phone. But can you imagine what it would be like to live in a home without piped water and drainage? It would be a nightmare. That piped water and drainage, which you don't even think about, has transformed lives in greater ways than anything that so-called technology can do. Number two, much of this so-called technology isn't improving your life at all. You are being put under the control of certain platform companies. As you know, there are movements of parents who are essentially trying to prevent young people from using these things because they have harmed young people. They have encouraged young people to commit suicide and other such things. Even the lives of adults are diminished by this technology. So that's point number two. Maybe you may think it's a moral point, but still. But here's the most important point. If Palantir or Meta or whatever, if these companies can hire a few engineers to think about, how to control people, you can, as a movement opposed to capitalism, hire a few engineers, have a few engineers, use the talents of your own engineers to counter the effects of technology. I mean, we are told that, Palantir is accurate in terms of targeting people. We know what has happened in Gaza and so on. We know what happened in Iran, where this technology was used to target a girls' school where almost 300 people died, most of them little girls. So here's your genius, okay? And finally, if technology were so great, how come the United States has lost its war with Iran? How come Israel has still not been able to suppress Hamas, Hezbollah, etc.? You tell me that.
I think that's an interesting thought. um, the conspiracy-minded thought comes to like, so there's this guy who's out there whose name's Simon Dixon, and he talks about three major forces. It might be interesting to hear your thoughts on this too. The financial industrial complex, the military industrial complex, and then the technological industrial complex. In the sense of the war itself, I mean, there's kind of a little bit of both tech and military involved, but the conspiracy minded thought is okay, the longer a war drags on, the more munitions need to be replenished, the more money needs to be spent, right, in that realm. Uh, from complete conspiratorial outside observations, it feels that Congress in the United States certainly has some sort of a incentive to certainly continue spending on defense in ways that are beneficial to these defense companies, but not necessarily to citizens of the U.S. or citizens of the world. Um, I do want to ask a different question, but I do maybe want to hear any feedback you
Can
have.
I come back? Yeah, no, I absolutely want to come back on this one. I think your friend, I didn't catch the name, but whoever it is, he's got a point. I would add a fourth one. He mentioned the military industrial complex, the financial complex or whatever. There's another acronym which is often used for it. It's called FIRE, finance, insurance, and real estate. So the FIRE sector and the information and communications technology sector, or the big tech. But a fourth one would be big pharma. Big pharma is also very big, and all four. The United States may not be great at steel production, etc., but it has, at least it has tried to keep the lead in all these sectors. Now, let me also say, before I go any further, that let me emphasize tried, because of course China is ahead of the United States in all these technologies and can use them to far better effect, and we can discuss that separately. But let me just come back to this. So basically, as I said earlier, the US state and the United States, you mentioned the 250th anniversary, and actually in one of the organizations that I run, it's called the International Manifesto Group. So if the listeners are interested, they should check us out at www.internationalmanifesto.org. We hold webinars a couple of webinars every month, and recently we had one on 1776 and 2026, 250 years, and we had the famous historian Gerald Horne, who has written a earth-shaking book called The Counter-Revolution of 1776. We are taught that, I was taught when I went to school, that 1776 was a revolution, an anti-colonial revolution and all this stuff. But what Horne shows in his book, which is written particularly from an African American point of view, but more generally, I mean, it's written from the point of view of ordinary people all over the world. What he points out is that this revolution was essentially an act undertaken by a genocidal, slaving oligarchy in order to continue the practice of slavery, because they could see that Britain, because of problems it was having, not out of any kind of milk of human kindness in the heart of Britain, but Britain, for its own reasons, was going to move against slavery. And if they remained under the control of the British Crown, then this would apply to them as well. So they wish to continue slaving. And I think this is one of the dirty secrets of the so-called American Revolution, which was really counter-revolution, which people do not appreciate. And since that time, the US state has gone on being this genocidal, slaving oligarchy. Of course, it has had compromises forced on it, but it is still trying to remain that. And I should say also expansionist vis-a-vis the rest of the world. So now the American state is organizing the current war in order to keep its position of privilege, in order to prevent it from losing its position of privilege that it has had, but it is losing it anyway. But and part of the reason is losing it is because it is a state that is designed not to undertake any national cause. It's not like, I mean, quite frankly, what is the national cause anyway? It's an imperialist war. It's not a national war. But nevertheless, the US state is not designed to undertake any concrete action. It is designed to facilitate the profit making of its most powerful corporations. And its most powerful corporations exist in all of these spheres. So the military industrial complex is making money hand over fist, selling arms and armaments which do not work for the United States. They get loads of subsidies to undertake research and development, but today China and Russia are ahead of the United States in research and development. They have arms like hypersonic missiles, which the United States does not have, despite the fact that the United States spends vastly more, many, many times more money on its military than these other countries do. Number two, fire insurance and real estate. Why does Trump keep going to war and then calling it off, and going to war again and calling it off? It clearly has an effect on markets, and there is much to be said about the possibility that people who know when Trump is going to make these announcements are well placed to benefit from the fluctuations of the market. So that's a second. There's where fire insurance and real estate are involved. And mind you, these financial interests are also involved in doing all sorts of other things. The ICT sector, of course, benefits absolutely when the United States gives them lucrative contracts, whether it is Palantir or any other such company. And finally, I did not believe this when I read it, but just the other day in the Financial Times, it was reported that Pete Hegseth, this, who is kind of like as MAGA as they come, but Pete Hegseth, who is opposed to, using hormones and so on for trans rights. And I mean, I don't want to talk about that, but this guy now wants to offer every soldier over 30 testosterone replacement therapy. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it if it wasn't for me knowing something about this idiot called Pete Hegseth. But this is what he's doing. What is it? It's a huge contract for the big pharma complex to supply certain hormones. I mean, this is crazy. And I'm sure that you could be you could be a perfectly sane person in the US military, but if somebody offered you a testosterone and you refused it, you're not going to be in a very good position, are you?
You wrapped all of those in perfectly well. The FIC, the financials, the technologicals, the military, and then this pharmaceutical arm. And I've seen the title of your book. I haven't read it yet, but the coronavirus and war piece. We're probably going to have you come back to talk about some of these things that you've written as well, because that's a whole conversation in and of itself. But that's what came to my mind. But a question that Beating the Odds threw up that I wanted to make sure we touched on. Beating the Odds said, seems like inflation and the devaluation of nations' currencies has more to do with a lot of these issues than capitalism or socialism ideologies. Can we discuss the statistical correlations of these? And I wanted to throw in general, also the concept of central banking, right? Like, what role does that play in the perpetuation of systems as they are today?
That's a huge discussion. So first of all, let me say that I like that comment very much, the one about inflation and so on, and the issue being inflation, etc., and the devaluing of currencies and not being capitalism and socialism. But you know what? They're both. Let me tell you why. Because capitalism cannot function without um, money having a stable value, right? But at the same time, capitalism generates dynamics which undermine the value of money. Yeah. So I mean, and this is like a huge problem. I mean, it's a very complicated, complex topic. But let me just say one thing. Right now, a very substantial part of the inflation actually comes from the fact that supply chains are not working as they did before COVID, say. You know, the supply chains on which American the well, supply chains on which the US depends have been stretched all over the world, yeah, and they are very thin and they are very delicate and they can break at any time. Now, who asked? Who asked the decision makers, who asked the successive American governments to allow them to be stretched in such a fashion that they would be so vulnerable? Yeah, it's because the US economy is not run in the interests of the ordinary Joe and Jane in the United States. It's run in the interests of the big corporations. And what did the big corporations want to do? They wanted to outsource production. Yeah. And that's what created these long and delicate supply chains, which were so easily broken. So, just to give you an example of the sort of thing that capitalism does, which inherently undermines the value of money. So, so in that sense, capitalism and questions of capitalism and socialism are deeply entwined with questions of inflation and the value of money. Okay, so and we can talk more about that, but let me now come to the other question you asked about, which was about central banking. What is central banking? Central banking, when it central banking is essentially an institution which mediates the connection between the money that you use at home, say the dollar or the pound or whatever, and the rest of the world. And it does so by essentially acting to try and keep a stable value of the money. I say try and because it's not like central bankers uh, are omnipotent. They cannot control everything, but they try. So typically, if you take a class on central banking, you will be told that central banks have three major functions. It is to keep the value of money, keep a stable value of money domestically, that is keep inflation under control, to keep the exchange rate under control, keep that stable, and generally regulate the financial sector. And ideally, you'd think that the central banks would regulate the financial sector in such a way that the financial sector does what you are told in Economics 101 it should do, which is to, mobilize savings and direct them towards productive investment. But the US financial sector has not done this for close on 5 decades. Okay. The US financial sector has absolutely no connection with the productive economy. The way in which the US financial sector has been deregulated over the last, I don't know, certainly since I would say the late 80s, mid to late 80s, since Alan Greenspan became the chairman of the Federal Reserve, if not earlier, is to constantly deregulate the financial sector in such a way that the financial sector not only profits enormously, but it becomes increasingly disconnected from the productive economy, the economy that produces the food, that produces the clothing, that produces the housing, etc., etc. So, and this financial sector then relies on two main things: what I call predatory lending. So they lend, they don't actually lend for production, but they are very happy to lend you and me money in, so long as you have certain collateral that they can seize, etc. And for absolutely usurious interest rates and so on. So basically this has led to a gigantic increase in debt in every country, in every rich country. There is a mountain of debt. The public sector is indebted, the government is indebted, households are indebted, and productive businesses are indebted up to their gills, because the financial sector that controls them essentially uses all their assets to max out on their credit card, so to speak, on their ability to borrow. And what is done with that money? It goes towards rewarding those who essentially make money out of money, the people who hold the shares and so on. So they are often the money is borrowed in order to give dividends, when in fact the actual company is not making very much profit. Yeah, and it's not making very much profit because it's not producing. So this is one thing. So there is an enormous amount of lending that takes place. Secondly, there is asset bubbles. And so since Greenspan, Greenspan became the chairman of the Federal Reserve in August of 1987. Again, this is before most of my listeners and you both were born, but nevertheless, it's in 1987 he became the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Within 2 months, in October, there was a big crash. There was a big stock market crash, a big crash of 1987. And Greenspan basically rescued everybody who was in trouble by injecting masses of liquidity into the system, so that in a big crash, what happens is that people who have lost money in the crash, yeah, Greenspan just passed away. And by the way, on my geopolitical economy program, sorry, on my YouTube channel, Radhika Desai, Geopolitical Economist, Michael Hudson and I did a wonderful show on Alan Greenspan. So check it out. I think or everybody who's interested in central banking will learn a thing or two from there. But okay, let me come back to my point. So since that time, the Federal Reserve has acted essentially like a janitor. What do I mean by that? So the financial sector has these wild orgies of speculation, inflates these asset bubbles. You had after the 1987 crash, you had the dot-com bubble, then you had the housing and credit bubbles, and now we have the everything bubble. I mean, every kind of American asset is in bubble territory. And this is all encouraged with a policy of easy money, because none of these bubbles would exist if it weren't for leverage trading. By leverage trading, what do we mean? It means you borrow money in order to make money in the stock market, because you see, at this point in time, the margins are extremely thin. Like you want to make, you are reduced to making profits from very, very tiny microscopic changes in the value of assets. So if the value, if the change is 0.0001%, then if you have $100, you make a fraction of a penny on that, if you were to. But if you had many millions of dollars, then you could actually make some decent money. Of course, you don't have it, but if you have a privileged position within the financial sector which allows you to borrow this money, you've got it made. You can make money out of nothing. And the effect of this is to inflate the value of assets. Of course, typically, these inflated values, these bubbles will burst. We already had an initial bursting with the Silicon Valley Bank going belly up a couple of years ago. So in a certain sense, the crash has already started, but the Federal Reserve has now become very good at trying to manage it. So they are kind of trying to keep control. But I'm told, and I read in the pages of the mainstream financial press, which is no friend of socialism, by the way, no enemy of capitalism, but they are saying that the crash could be the crash in the AIs, in the stock market anyway, could come as early as before the end of this year. So that's my little take on central banking.
That was awesome. Thank you for outlining all of that. And I know we only have 7 minutes left with you, so I wanted to throw this out there. So there's this figure on YouTube who talks a lot about these similar kinds of things. His name's Professor Jiang, and he points to the observation that the fall of empires is typically done when you reach a point of saturation of elite overproduction. Would you agree with that thesis for why things are reaching the point that they're at? Is just there's too many people infighting to try to keep something up that's broken?
I think, yeah, have listened to a couple of his videos, and I really don't quite get his way of thinking. Like, what does he mean exactly by elite overproduction?
So how I interpret it is a lot of these power structures that we've referenced through, I think the one that you gave that I hadn't heard before was fire. So I think what he's saying is that over time, you create more and more of these power structures because the current elites have children or expansions of that family that also need status, power, access to resources. And so they just create new fractions of power to continue doing that. And you can only do that so much before infighting starts to take place, is I think how I've interpreted it.
Yes, but in a certain sense, actually, that was always true of the United States, even back, I mean, in my book, in my geopolitical economy, I actually cite people saying that, American thinkers and politicians saying something to the effect that, look, we have to keep expanding, which means, the expansion of the United States to reach the West Coast, and then, of course, beyond that. But the latter was not very possible. But we have to keep expanding, because otherwise the factions of the elites uh, 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 will will fight with one another. So they were already saying that, so that, if the pie is expanding, then there is, everybody can be kept happy. But if the pie is not expanding, I think the point is not the multiplication of elites. The point is that the pie that they must share is no longer expanding. This is the difficulty. And this has stopped expanding some time ago. And by the way, this is also clear from the fact that the United States has become as unequal as it has become in recent times, because the fact is that the pie is not expanding. So the elite lives off getting more and more from the ordinary Joe and Jane. So, they take more and more away. So you have these structures of inequality, and at the top level, you have yeah, sure. I mean, Bezos and Zuckerberg and Musk are all competing with one another. But the fact is that they are still getting extraordinarily rich. Yeah. So I think that there is something else. It's not just the expansion of elites or anything like that.
Yeah, I think you may have actually interpreted it better than I did. So it makes total sense to me. Keith, in our last few minutes, do you have anything else you want to throw up there?
Yeah, I did want to hear your explicit thoughts on the concept of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on how all of that fits into this?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at it very recently, although, funnily enough, I did look at a chart the other day which showed that although was Trump is so much in favor of Bitcoin, in fact, Bitcoin has not been doing very well under Trump. But let me just say a couple of basic things. First of all, I think it is a mistake to call it a cryptocurrency. I mean, while no doubt there are some people out there who are using this instrument to pay for certain things. I mean, basically anything that fluctuates so wildly in its value. Today it's worth $100, tomorrow it's worth $1,000, and day after tomorrow it may be worth $10. So when anything that fluctuates so wildly is not a currency. A currency has to maintain a relatively stable value, right? Otherwise people lose faith in it. It is basically an asset, and it is also an extremely problematic type of asset, in the sense that it is based on a kind of Ponzi scheme, which relies on more and more people coming into the asset, right? Trying to buy the asset, or whatever. But so I personally don't think, and that cryptocurrency is I mean, I'm sure it has made a few people very rich, but it is no sort of arrangement for any kind of stable and just society. A lot of people have been attracted to cryptocurrencies because they think that that actual dollars have been mismanaged by the Federal Reserve, this easy money policy and so on and so forth. So they are just printing money and so on. And, I mean, I certainly think that the Federal Reserve has, as I was just saying, gaming the system in order to benefit a very, very tiny elite. Undoubtedly, this has been happening. But the idea that somehow you can solve the problems of the class nature of the Federal Reserve by cryptocurrencies is completely wrong. cryptocurrencies are also regulated. The only difficulty is that the regulation of cryptocurrencies is even more secretive than the Federal Reserve. So you are jumping from the frying pan into the fire if you think that somehow, because the Federal Reserve is somehow manipulating the dollar system, that we should get out and buy cryptocurrency. This is a hugely problematic.
Appreciate your thoughts. There's a lot of conversation to have around that topic
Yeah,
as
and
well.
I need to go, as I mentioned. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So we
Awesome.
appreciate you.
Yeah, thank
And,
you so much for your time here. Just want to let
thanks for
everyone know
having
that
me. Great
all the
question.
links are down below. Go over to her channel, watch her show. It's fantastic. A lot of good insights there, a lot of cool guests as well. So definitely go check it out.
yeah.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
folks. Bye-bye,
Thank
everyone.
you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Awesome. That was fun.
Very, very cool. Fantastic discussion.
Totally. Yeah, she's super smart and a lot of great insights. Her show is really good. I strongly recommend going to give it a watch. Even though I disagree with a lot of things that she does say, I can see that she's very smart, and also like she knows things I don't. Right? She's a lot smarter than I am. So yeah, I think it's really important that you have conversations with people that you don't agree with, because until you challenge your points, until they challenge their points, like it's difficult to see the blind spots, because we all have them, myself included, right? Like the whole point what I was going at her with is that I'd be very curious to see if she's ever started a business. Because a lot of people say it in theory. They're like, oh, well, we could easily just convene like this. And they've not had to like manage people as well. So yeah, I'd be very curious to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting concept. I haven't heard anyone lay that idea out, that people will be able to coordinate with one another in a way that could be fair. And then I thought your point of, well, people, when they do organize, typically there's not at least an even distribution of the work. So then you have to take that into consideration as well when creating whatever that arrangement would look like, which that would probably, and someone brought up in the chat, like blockchain being able to help facilitate these types of more collective sorts of organization. And I mean, totally. And the concept of a decentralized autonomous organization
Yeah.
totally lends into that. And in the way that I was thinking about it, right, is like, because you wouldn't be able to know beforehand, like who's going to end up contributing more or less to the thing. So
Totally.
you need that to update, right, in real time. And whoever's essentially providing or more to the project or whatever is getting more for whatever more they're providing.
Yeah, that's a complex thing to structure too. But that's also a big thing that attracted me towards blockchain technology, is more of the appropriate alignment of incentives, because I totally agree with what she's saying, that the distribution of that, especially the higher scales, is crazy. But I think my whole thing is that I think that people who just think it could just be evenly split, that's a bit of a fairy tale world. But because like it's almost never ends up being like that. So I think what you're saying is very, very important to consider, is that it should be adjusted based on the output. Because even if you're coming into an arrangement, like things change, right? So yeah, have you looked into much about how to structure a DAO and how that stuff can take place?
No. There was another point that came up in the chat as I asked about blockchain. Sharp made a good distinction. He was like, Keith didn't ask her about blockchain. And I think that's super fair. For a couple of reasons, really. I mean, if you think about, if I throw out the word blockchain, I don't know, right, how much she's covered or thought about it, but for most people, it's a foreign concept, you know.
Totally.
And I think she did reveal in the way that she was speaking about crypto holistically that there probably isn't a whole lot of background on understanding what technology is underlying it. But we didn't really get to have that full conversation, so I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and stable coins, right, is another thing that could kind of help to, I mean, that's actually an even more complex conversation that would be great to have her ideas on. But also, you know, she's someone who studies money and systems, and so I wanted to ask about crypto itself, and she gave a good piece on like the Ponzi nature of it. I do think that there is an element to that that's pretty fair. Like,
but where is that not present though?
100% is what was on my mind is, okay, how does that differ from the stock market if it does in any way, um, in terms of that specific dynamic. Um, but yeah, and there's probably an argument there around the profits of the company increasing, right? Whereas for Bitcoin, there is not that piece of it. There is no like increasing of the underlying value outside of people wanting to use it more.
Mm.
That would be the only thing. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's super
It
fun to hear those perspectives.
it's frustrating, obviously, for people who have dug deeper in than most towards blockchain and Bitcoin, all these things, is that some of the smartest people won't touch the subject because of the stigma,
Yes. Yeah. Like,
which
like,
for me, it's
yeah.
like, if sorry, if I was them, right, and I'm being told like not to look at something, and they know everything's broken, for me that'd be like, oh, I should be looking here. That's how I looked at it, right? Obviously, they have a lot more to lose because they're a lot more established in their careers and stuff. But go ahead, you had a point.
No, I mean, it ties into what I was thinking about earlier too on the capitalism versus socialism or communism sort of talks. It's like I've had so many conversations in my life where I've defended one ideal or another without having enough of a background to actually be able to speak on it, but also speaking to other people who don't either. So
Hmm.
we're not actually getting anywhere.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
like I'm talking from ignorance, they're talking from ignorance.
Yeah.
And so, but if we had more, right, of people who actually really think about these types of things coming into
Mhm.
this space to have the conversation from a place of true understanding of like as deep as Jeff Booth, right? If you could fully have that conversation with Jeff Booth, then like now we can start
Mhm.
to actually come together and say, okay, well, this is why Bitcoin is or is not the answer, or why all of this technology is just a completely bad thing,
Mhm.
or why it will actually be providing some value to society.
I really look forward to the days where the figures who are voices in this space start to get into other sectors, like going on her show and things of that nature, because so many of these issues are, in my opinion, downstream from the broken money. But that's something we say all the time, over and over again. So I won't waste too much time there.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with someone about that concept too, because like so someone also mentioned something about like capitalism. You can't call this capitalism, and then also like something else, but like someone gave me the perspective that capitalism is a structure that exists outside of money, and I think that's fair. And is capitalism itself the problem? I think it becomes the question after that, which I don't have an answer for. But uh, that was an interesting piece for me because it is true. I mean, before you have money, you have people exploiting other people, and so the question then becomes, yeah, that piece of it. So, anyways, tons of conversations to be had around all of that.
So many. It's so complex because it's everything.
Exactly.
It's difficult to have a. It's so hard to have a conversation because unfortunately, there's like landmines amidst the conversation of like trigger words. Where as soon as that gets said, then people stop listening, which is such a detriment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of it in the chat a little bit too, and I realized like once again, it's been literally a month of me like really opening my eyes to how much I've defended things that I haven't understood.
Hmm. We've all done that.
And yeah, man. But yeah, so I can see some of it like at times, and then but the way that it'll come out is in the throwing out of words of like the labeling of things, like, oh, okay, well, this is that, and da da da. But but this is a super cool space because most of you guys are here to hear and have this conversation. So yeah, just wanted to point it out that I saw some of it of like the
Mhm.
reaction to the words and stuff, and it's like
And it's
maybe hear it out.
I promise you, whatever side you think you're on, you have those silly words on your side too.
Mhm.
No one is immune to it. There's like silliness all across the board, and oftentimes they almost mirror each other. Like one group will say how dumb this word is, but then they have almost the exact same comparable, swap the variables on the other side too. So that's like again, I repeat the quote in my Instagram bio all the time, because until we forgive the flaws in other people that the system created, we won't actually look at the system itself.
100%. And then Lee Entertainment said capitalism ain't perfect, but anything is better than communism. And yeah, so that's another thing I wanted to get to, is like, because I don't think we've actually had that word used even once, at least not from the guest.
Communism?
Yes. So how? Because I feel like that's a part of the programming for me.
Oh, they fought that so hard. Oh yeah. Like, communism is the death of everything in America, right? Like that's.
And but once again, that she did mention it because she called some of it out, but like she wasn't talking about communism at any point, really. So like, where did that word come into the conversation? Only actually in that talking about how there's been a campaign against communism, but she's talking about socialism. So how did we get to communism? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's a part of the programming, is that socialism equals communism, right? But at what point, really, once again, did she ever mention that? So yeah, I just like pointing things out for me that I've realized. And when I've read none of the literature that the people who have spent the time thinking about these things in much depth, you know, the authors that she talks about, Karl Marx, Maynard Keynes, all these things, like I really haven't actually done the reading. So I know now, especially, that I almost can't even really fully have these conversations other than the social aspect of like, okay, but how did we get to communism from the word socialism in our conversation back and forth, and then so on and so forth. But anyways.
Yeah, I think our job is just to ask the dumb question and understand that it is maybe a dumb question. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people have the same sorts of questions, but they don't have a platform to ask it, nor the confidence to do it, even if they did, because they're worried about the backlash of that. So I think that's all our job really is to be ignorant and ask questions from that place.
Totally. Yeah. So how are you now? Said, I believe socialism to be a stepping stone to communism. Perfect. Because like I've been told that too. But like,
but why?
And yeah. And like, what does that actually look like? And have we seen that? And then, yeah.
It's also a massive red flag that if you even say this kind of stuff, that people who believe what they believe will be like, lose their shit. Right? Like, if you can't discuss the thing that you believe in wholeheartedly, like, do you actually believe in it?
100%.
Do you even know what you believe in?
Right. So yeah. So like, for instance, that conversation almost isn't even had out loud in the conversations that I've had in the past of like, okay, but socialism leads to communism. Like, if I would have said that, which I probably have said that, like, what backing did I have behind that? Or but also the conversation that I'm having with the other person, they didn't call that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're not also understanding that like that's the assumption and that's what needs to be broken down if we're gonna have this conversation. It's just like, oh, you're dumb, like, you know what I'm saying? So,
totally. That's an ultra nefarious outcome of, and probably a deliberate one, of algorithms, right? Forcing you into boxes where, because it's not like, we're not meant to hear from people who say they hate us every day, right? Like, that's not a natural thing. But unfortunately, to do this, you're signing up for that, right? Like, I've been saying the whole time of the show is basically my job is for you to tell me how dumb I am. Right. And most people are not willing to do that. And even the people who like hate on me, it's like, you wouldn't be up here doing that.
totally.
So it's like, I think we also need to like look at what that is. And I really, really hope that more shows start cross-pollinating a lot more. Right? Like, I would love to see her talk to someone she really disagrees with. You know what I mean? In a respectful way, obviously. But and I'm sure there's some of that on her channel. But yeah, I think there's so many people that are really, really smart, but they've been siloed, I think, on purpose, that they can't spot the flaws in each other's thinking.
Totally. And then Brian Mario said, communism and socialism are two sides of the same rotten coin. Sincerely, someone who lived it.
There's also a lot of people like that. Like, I have some buddies who have fled nations that were communist, and they're so afraid by the outcomes of that if anything they think is like a prelude to that, that's something that they would avoid.
Yeah. So living in Miami, I saw a very social aspect of how these things work out. So I was super surprised arriving in Miami in 2017. This was right after Trump had won the election, and for the first time. And like I don't there was like rallies, there was like Trump rallies and tons of like Cuban specifically, Americans or Cuban descent, like straight from Cuba,
Mhm.
that are like pro Trump, like everywhere. And um, so that was like a whoa, like that's crazy to me. Like these people are immigrants, and he's like talking very badly about immigrants and so on and so forth. And not like I'm like, look, I'm never sold anyway in one way or another, but like I am hearing I'm looking at this as for someone who doesn't speak English that well. Like he's saying things about immigrants from like a fourth grade level that don't sound good. You know what
Really?
I'm saying? No, I'm saying like Trump is like the immigrants are bad people.
Okay, I
You
thought
see
you
what
meant
I'm
the guy you were
saying?
talking to. Okay.
No, 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 no. Like immigrants are bad people. They're stealing like if you don't understand English well, you know enough that that's not good. You know what I'm saying? That's mean.
Yeah.
So for these people who don't necessarily speak English that well, for them to be loving of Trump, I'm like, wait, what's going on? And so, but it turns out, okay, but these Cuban people are dealing with a government that
Mhm.
has tried an experiment around socialism, communism. I actually don't know the definitions of how you look at Cuba,
Yeah, please educate us in the comments.
and it didn't work. Right? They had to flee, right, illegally. Some of them to the
Yeah.
states.
But my thing with probably with what our guest would have said today is that did it fail or was it never allowed to succeed?
Hmm.
Right? Because there's a lot of these experiments that like, and they may fully be broken. I don't know anything about anything, but if there's so much power that would eliminate that from ever having the chance of getting off the ground or being successful, then is that a fair analysis of its efficacy?
Right, right, 100%. And I think with like to point towards okay, socialism in some sense having some sort of efficacy, you can't ignore China, right? You can't ignore it. All right. They're arguably the largest economic superpower in the world, right? And only second due to like uh, the hegemony of the United States dollar, right? So, but to finish that conversation, still though, it's like these people are clearly very pro-Trump, and like, but how much of that is purely just against whatever it is that they're coming from? And he's saying, once again, he's saying communism bad, illegal immigrant bad. Only thing that I care about is that communism bad. I agree because my entire past, my entire bloodline, right,
Mhm.
has been like
Told to believe that.
hurt, physically pained by socialism, communism in my head being a bad thing because of the experiences that I had in Cuba, as an example. Right? Like I literally had to flee. So if that's the case, then anybody who's saying F that
Mhm.
has my vote. Right.
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah, I just
Well,
wanted to
it's
point to
the other
that.
thing that is unfortunate about a lot of people's situations is that, like, a lot of people work so hard that they don't have the time to educate themselves on any of these things, right? Because they're just trying to get through the day.
Mhm.
So, it's gotta become more approachable for them to do that, which is obviously the goal of this show, and I'm sure many others out there, is to try to be, like, one place where you can come into and expect to learn something you didn't know before and have your beliefs be challenged. Because if you're not challenging your own beliefs all the time, what's the point? Right? Like that's the point that I was trying to make in the chat. Was someone's like, just like agree to disagree and move on, which I totally understand. But if it's just to hear their perspective unchallenged, like that's what your own channel's for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I
So
think that
go
was
ahead.
a great exchange. Um, to be fair, you use certain language of like, I don't agree with this, and I think that's where they were coming from.
Well, I can
But
only speak for myself, right?
mhm.
That's I'm trying to challenge my own beliefs. If someone gives me an answer that is like so much better than what I have, I'll take it. Right? So I'm looking to change my own opinion if there is warrants to do so.
And then another thing that BAPN said here is corruption didn't let it be successful. And I noticed someone said something very similar in the past before of like, for socialism and communism, is it ever going to work with the natural corruption that occurs with human beings, right? That will then try to take the power from that system and use it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've said that before out loud as someone who has thought this stuff through and has spent the time. And one of the things that they said to that is like, is that actually natural? Is that actually the natural state of the human being to want to coerce and take that power?
Yes, that's a very powerful thought experiment, and I actually don't think it is.
Right.
I just think that they know that they're conducting themselves in a zero-sum game. And so I think human
Exactly.
beings in a zero-sum game, that is the natural way in which they would respond, because anything would, right?
Yep.
So that's why I do agree a lot with what Jeff says, Jeff Booth, referring to him, in terms of if you can usher in a truly free market and that gets given to the world, then I think only then can you actually say anything about what is the natural state of humans' experience or condition.
Love it. Yep. That's exactly where my head was with that.
Expanding on your YouTube playlist, Keith, would expedite learning for me and maybe others. Yeah, that's actually a big opportunity that you have too, Keith, is to like be the educator for like the cross point, right, to a lot of these things, and just play not like bystander, right? Like I'm simply reporting on these things. These aren't my opinions. These are what other people say. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, capitalism versus socialism video would go pretty hard in the paint if I did it
Crazy.
right.
The comments would be like losing it. But I with everything that is this broken, I don't think anyone should like be unwilling to change your opinions. Like, look how much suffering there is out there. Look how like even any of my opinions, like I change them all the time if there's new data presented to me. And I just see that because I see how much suffering is incurred by people who won't do that. Like I think of people in my life who they will never change their mind. And it's like, at that point, are you even a human anymore, man? You're just a bot. And I think you should debate your opinion from your perspective as long as you truly believe it, and do so with passion, but also change it if you change your opinion. Because I know a lot of people, once they like lose, this is not an appropriate word, but they'll be like, they get more angry about their personal self-esteem and they disregard what was actually said, right? And that's often, we see that all the time, even in the biggest stages now, where when people lose an actual debate or their opinion has less merit, they resort to name calling and stuff. Like that happens at the highest levels now, which is just absolutely absurd.
Right. That's the part of it that's messed up, is because that's the example that's being set.
Yes.
And for the young people, for instance, like it's terrible. Like they think that, like, not even like for young people, that's literally their president. Like since they've been born,
That's all they know.
like that's actually normal to them.
Even for us, it gets harder and harder as days go by to remember life before that.
Yeah.
Because think of how much trauma that we've gone through in that time. Like how many crazy experiences have taken place before like the last semblance of decorum on those stages. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember? Shut up as people. Yeah, I think there's evident flaws for a lot of these different things that get discussed. And like, I don't think, let me mute myself. I don't think there is like one simple solution to any of these problems. I think they're pretty, geez, can you imagine elections in 50 years? I can't think they're going to be conducted the same way. As I was saying to you, Keith, last night, where I keep hearing the saying, we can't vote our way out of this. And I was waiting for a few specific people to say this, because anybody who studies propaganda, you only really need to get the thought leader or the source of public opinion to say something for it to then become public opinion, right? So when I saw a few of the guys who were trying to point out issues and flaws with funding within America, and then I was like, there's going to be an instance where they say, okay, we can't vote our way out of this, and then they actually said it out loud, and now it's reaching a point where it's probably been said by enough people where people can't really pinpoint like where they even heard it. They probably think it's their own opinion, and it's now making its way into just the general zeitgeist. And I'm seeing it appear more and more in comment sections. And so that also like leads me to believe that it could be priming for something, which is also why I asked her, like, do you think they would just pitch a new system to say, yeah, this is broken? So then, okay, we feel like we got to win, and it's the same shit in a different clothing. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, I love the lead into that concept of that question, because I'm sure anyone who spends a substantial amount of time looking at what's happening with digital currencies and blockchain technology and so on, like you could see something like that occurring potentially, right? Like that might be what's going on. Um, and so, and it's just so wild because it's like, oh man, the level of impact that's going to have if that's what's happening, right, is so massive. So for people that are having all of these conversations to just like ignore it, it's crazy.
But wouldn't you want that to be the case if you were doing that?
I mean, probably, because like, okay, this is messed up, but like what's happening in my head is like some of the people who really don't know anything, right? Like who really don't have these conversations, who really don't think about it, are still participating financially.
What do you mean by that?
Finance TikTok.
I get what you're saying. So it muddies the water.
Yeah, like you've got like people who literally don't know anything, but who are invested.
But they're screaming about why it's so important.
Yes.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. No, I totally get it. Like when I look at all of the reasons why people ignore blockchain, they ignore Bitcoin, it's because there is an overwhelming majority of consensus going the opposite direction, and some of their points have merit. So I totally get why they'd be like, oh, this is a scam, I'm not touching this, especially when there's so many other big problems immediately in their vicinity that dominate their focus. I get it. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
But one here I wanted to throw up there was good. Biometric IDs will fix voting on the blockchain, so no cheating. That's a crazy philosophical debate, right? Because obviously a lot of people don't want like digital ID or biometric ID, which I totally understand from a philosophy standpoint. But it's going to be a debate over the next coming years, probably one of the biggest ones, because objectively, if used in the right way, it does seemingly solve a lot of the problems. But at what cost are we willing to do that at in terms of philosophy? Because there's so many arguments to go on either direction. For example, for the people who would never do that, it's like, but would they go get a knee replacement? Right. So, because it's like, so then where is the threshold where like now we're being augmented to a point of being unnatural? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man. It almost feels inevitable that the DID stuff becomes a thing. Unfortunately, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say 2020 like was when I was like, oh God.
This is gonna happen.
Yeah, this is happening.
It already happened in India, didn't it?
Probably.
Aren't they like world leaders in that front?
Maybe. They would probably have the highest need for it. I mean, they've got so many people that are undocumented. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. You guys should try to get Days of Noah. I've not heard of him. Have you, Keith?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah.
I see his channel or their channel. Yeah, we'd be super down getting their comments to say to come on. Asipa will reach out to him, try to get them on. Yeah, always let us know if there's people that you want on, because we want to shine a light on our blind spots as well. So feel free to suggest anyone that you think would make for a good episode.
Totally. Have y'all heard of Windows Global Device Identifier used to track down Peter Stokes? Who's Peter Stokes?
I don't know. This is news to me.
I do remember seeing there was like this patent that came out that was it was a digital ID system from the Navy or something like that. Let me try to find it in real time. Navy digital ID system, and there was like something that involved Ripple. I'm trying to see if I can find it, but I don't see it. But
He's a hacker. Ryan Holiday would be super cool to have on. I've read a few of his books. The Mark of the Beast conversations. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of protests regardless of where we go from here.
yeah, man.
Blockchain backer. You've talked about him before, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. Where did that come up?
Lucas suggested them as a guest. I'm not scared of AI. No, Jay Heron says, I'm not scared of AI. No, I accept the future can't be changed by the minority, but it could by the majority, maybe.
Right.
I recommend getting the uneducated economist on. Cool. I see we'll add them to the list.
Yep. Other than that, I can bring us into the second half. What you think?
Take me to the second half, Keith. Please and thank you.
Here we are in the second half. First things first, we got some news. So the UK Prime Minister, who was supposed to be stepping in after Keir Starmer resigned, is a man named Andy Burnham. And he apparently has previously spoken out around having Manchester, in particular, becoming a Web3 powerhouse. So he's a crypto supporting mayor, the mayor of Manchester, and he's the front runner to replace Keir Starmer. And so, yeah, this could be an interesting step forward for the UK. I'm releasing a video tomorrow about how all the nations around the world seem to like right now be moving toward crypto. So that would be very interesting.
Totally. And it would be that easy too. As we've tried to say in the show too, right? About how quickly things can move, where if they decided this is something we're doing now, you get guys who are like this as points of power in every place, and then it gets put in like that. So yeah, interesting to see. I don't think it'll be the end of this kind of movement. And I'm sure there's something else I was going to say, but I think it'll probably be more relevant to a future story. So I'll wait.
Cool. Don't lose it.
I'll write it down.
Awesome. So we have Midnight. The Midnight token apparently went on a fire sale or had a fire sale. So you had a whale wallet that holds 300 million Night, which is worth around $8 million, rapidly selling large batches of Night on DEXs. So Night powers Midnight, which is the privacy-focused blockchain from Cardano and Charles Hoskinson. It's in that ecosystem. This follows a major WAN chain bridge exploit that drained over 500 million Night tokens, which we'll talk about in a second. And this sparks fears of further price crash and stolen fund liquidation, meaning them selling this for some other asset.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure we have this in the doc, but Charles went and addressed this. Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano and Midnight. And yeah, it's not the best of news, like what took place. But he basically stressed that this is something that's going to happen regardless of blockchain. And he was trying to put a positive spin on it in terms of how it was dealt with once it happened, as a testament to things being built the right way. But it's definitely tough look.
The exploit was he talking about, or this guy selling?
The exploit, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we actually do have a clip, it looks like, of Charles. So let's get closer to that. So there was a WAN chain bridge incident. The WAN chain bridge between Cardano and Binance Smart Chain was compromised, leading to the rapid dumping of ADA tokens on Cardano on decentralized exchanges. And then you have Cardano and Midnight infrastructure that remains secure and unaffected, with the team monitoring the situation through a collaborative war room. But the incident does highlight the ongoing necessity for advanced security measures like zero-knowledge technology to protect against bridge vulnerabilities and market volatility. Let's hear a little bit of what Charles had to say as a brief update on what happened here 16 hours ago.
Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is July 20th, 2026. Making a quick video to talk about an event that occurred today. So I have some triggers in my whole AI portfolio. And whenever certain events happen, I get an automated message. So I was sitting working on some code, and then suddenly, ping, my phone says, hey, the price of night is going down a lot very quickly. So I said, oh, something must be going on. So I get on the horn, start calling a few people, say, is there something going on? And we noticed an anomaly from the Binance Smart Chain side to the Cardano side, where ADA associated with Binance and the one-chain bridge was being rapidly dumped as quickly as possible on the dexes of Cardano.
So I don't have any timestamps to hear exactly where he goes into this or where he makes compelling points. So I'll have to stop it there. But anything, Ben, or do you think that we should fast forward, or what do you want to do with this?
No, he basically just says that this was the first issue that Knight has had. Every chain's going to have an issue. How they dealt with it, something he's proud of, and that this will become even more of a norm of a thing, and how they've built things make them one of the best candidates to navigate the incoming storm from vulnerabilities being attacked by the improvement of frontier AI models. So basically just said this is going to become a norm. We built with this understanding that this would take place. So don't expect this to be like the last story of this. He basically said this is going to become a fairly common thing amongst all online infrastructure, and blockchains, crypto is not immune to that.
Yeah. I mean, man, these bridge hacks, I mean, a bridge is almost like, to me, like it will be hacked. Like,
can you explain what a bridge is for anyone who may not know?
Yeah. So my basic understanding is you've got two different blockchains. All right. They're completely different networks and have assets that sit on them. Right. So with that, you need to sometimes, or you want to find ways to get assets from one chain over to another chain. There's different mechanisms that can be used to try to get assets from one system to another. But a lot of the times there's some sort of a locking mechanism that will take place. So imagine you're on Binance Smart Chain and you want to get tokens on Midnight. And so you kind of send tokens to a Binance wallet that then locks the Binance tokens on that wallet. And then you issue the new tokens on the Midnight side, where there's kind of this intermediary piece where one locks and then the other mints. And then you can now proceed, press play on the other side, right? Well, these are frozen, and then you can go back and forth in that way. So I don't know if this is how this bridge worked or whatever, but generally that's what you need it for.
Yeah, and they're very susceptible to issues. So yeah, I think that was a pretty solid explanation. And Cross Central said, I can't believe Charles is less than 40 years old. Yeah, that does shock a lot of people. He deals with an absurd amount of stress. So yeah, and he works a lot. So but I can't wait to have him back on the show, hopefully in the near future, and we'll discuss all these things. But like someone had said earlier, that privacy will probably become a far bigger concern as these things do get rolled out. So I do think that leaves them in a decent spot. What story you got next?
Next piece is Russia legalizing their crypto framework that actually just happened today.
So there's been, was it Japan or Korea who also did?
Japan moving forward with the bill. I don't know if it's fully done yet.
Okay.
But it probably
I think they all get done, man. I think they all get done.
Yeah. So Russia's State Duma passed a bill creating official rules for cryptocurrency trading and ownership. The bill recognizes Bitcoin as property and allows cross-border payments aimed at helping Russian businesses bypass Western sanctions. But now, important note here, crypto remains banned for domestic use inside Russia. How fascinating is that?
That is fascinating.
So, jeez, like you come to me and you tell me crypto has no use case, but a country is willing to create laws that make it illegal for people to use it internally,
It has the ultimate use case, dude.
but only to use it for cross-border payments. I mean, I think it's a pretty compelling use case that people might even be okay with. Like, actually, I don't need to use it to pay for things. I only need it for
Just
cross-border
send
payments.
money.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be very interesting to see how each of these countries navigate what is likely going to be a tsunami of financial changes. Some would say innovation, and to see how that impacts their future and their people. It'll be very super interesting to see.
no doubt at all whatsoever.
That's funny. Russian clarity.
Yeah.
It's clear like vodka now.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. So the other piece that I was seeing is Nigeria launching a virtual asset council. Their president Tinubu signed an executive order creating a virtual asset council to coordinate crypto rules. The council is chaired by CBN, with SEC and Revenue Service as vice chairs involving securities agencies. And this aims to fix fragmented regulation, to boost oversight, tax compliance, and cut risks in Nigeria's huge crypto market. Something that a lot of people might not know is that Nigeria is one of the most populous countries in the world.
Is it really?
242 million people.
Wow.
And they are pretty advanced when it comes to this whole crypto piece. So the sixth largest country in the world by population. It goes India, China, the United States, Indonesia, another one people sleep on. That's wild.
What?
Indonesia's right after the United States in terms of the largest populations. And then Pakistan, and then Nigeria, and then Brazil. Just, cap it off. But so anyways, massive country, lots of people that are going to be affected, right, when these types of things actually take place and get into motion like that.
Totally.
So,
and you'd hope that it opens up the global economy for a lot more of these people who are really skilled in these countries that can't participate fairly to do so more and more, which is why you see such adoption for crypto in countries like this, because like they were playing a really unfair game. Like we're all agreeing that we're in an unfair game here, and we're incredibly spoiled, relatively speaking. So yeah, that's what I'm hopeful for, that it truly makes like this global market that we're told that we're operating within.
For sure. And like, to really lay it out, like there's people that we work with and so on who will be like, can you pay me in Solana, for instance? I get sometimes coming from a country like Nigeria or Pakistan or whatever it may be. And I'm like, Solana? like Solana, USDC on Solana, these people who are doing things to build and who are super just like on top of it, people that are doing amazing things, like they're using crypto to be able to transact because either they can't get a PayPal or, they've got to do all these different workarounds. When people send money to their banks, it gets rejected, right? And like all these things that happen that prevent them from being able to participate in the economy, like you mentioned. And so crypto is already the actual de facto answer for that. And so like making that a part of the economy, making that something that can happen at scale, right, is something that will also open up a lot of doors and create a lot of economic activity for these countries.
Yeah, most people in the West don't grasp what life is like in a place where your currency gets like crazy devalued. Like we're experiencing the long-term effects of it happening here, but it happens at such a slower scale and scope versus over there. So yeah, I think that's also why people don't appreciate what Jeff Booth says is already happening with Bitcoin, but what could happen with any asset that structures in a similar way, where yes, it's incredibly volatile, like our guest today had said, but compared to what?
Right. That's a good point. That's a really good point. There was these graphics circulating around the Argentinian peso, like just continuing to get absolutely demolished.
Now, imagine all the work that you've done, you know what I mean, to make
That's
money.
what that is.
Yeah.
That's that graph.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like your entire life's work
Gone.
That's that graph.
And what could you have done about it?
Crazy, bro.
It's crazy. It's absolutely absurd, and it's super messed up. And it happens at a smaller scale here, where our purchasing power gets diminished over time, but nothing like that.
Yeah. Next piece that I had is an FBI Steam malware arrest. So apparently the FBI just arrested a 21-year-old Zaire Wilkins for hiding crypto stealing malware in Steam games. Games like Block Blasters infected 8,000 PCs and drained 220,000 from 80 crypto wallets.
Damn.
This is tracked via Uber. He was tracked via Uber Eats orders. A case shows that gaming platform serve as a risk for crypto users. Can you break down how this might have worked for someone who doesn't game?
So I'm not entirely sure. I've not really played any blockchain related games, but can you throw it back up so I can look at the specifics more?
Yeah, I think it's more just that people are downloading games on their computer, right? And then from there, there's whatever, if they have anything on their computer, then it's getting stolen. I don't think it's a blockchain game at all.
So Steam is a platform where you can buy games and download them to your computer. So is he the distributor of the game? Like, I'm not even sure how he is getting that onto their computer.
Right. That's what I'm assuming, because that's a good point, because it's like, why are people downloading his game as well, unless he's just like marketing the game well or something?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But when you do download the game, you're downloading a file, right? So with that, of course, comes potential issues that come from what it gets access to, what you're giving it access to, etc. So that's another thing why people are so hesitant to use crypto, is that it's too complicated for a lot of people, and too many things can go wrong right now for a lot of people, where they're like, oh, I can't touch this, because not only is the risk the volatility of the asset, but it's, will I lose it? which is
Right.
crazy to think about. But that's all that I can contribute there. I don't know the story all that well.
No, that's fair. And so Cross Central said people's OPSEC, operational security, is terrible. I mean, why are you keeping crypto on the same device that you regularly browse the internet on?
It's very true.
Very important point there. Yeah, guys, like, don't do that. I recommend to people all the time, like, if you're gonna have software wallets, use them on a different device than what you're using on your day-to-day basis. It's just like literally any link that you click on could potentially lead to you draining your wallet. You know what I mean? And that's just not a risk worth taking, especially if you're constantly consuming stuff in the space and whatever, because you'll be targeted at some point. But yeah, what else was I gonna say about this? Oh, my man, 220K, and how you getting got by the FBI, brother? That's not worth it at all. Oh man, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm surprised you even, like, he also must not have had very good OPSEC to get caught for only $220,000 worth of theft. Like, usually the FBI is going to be coming after you if you did something pretty massive. So I don't know, like, it must have just been an easy catch. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, Zane, man, hopefully you get a plea deal and work for the FBI or something. I don't know.
I feel attacked right now. Let me jump on my computer right quick. Yeah, I think a lot of people should take this stuff a lot more seriously. Like all of us should, because you can't get it back. It takes one screw up for a lot of pain, and take the lesson from somebody else's pain.
100%, man. I even saw this guy create a whole article about Ledger, and how, like, you're not safe with Ledger and blah, blah, blah. I can't really look. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, we'll touch on that a little bit later too. So next piece that I have here is Robinhood opens trading to AI agents. Robinhood is going to let users connect AI models like Grok or Claude to a dedicated brokerage account. AI agents can now research markets, build portfolios, and execute real equity and options trades. Every trade sends push notifications with real-time P&L tracking in one tap disconnect. Free for all US Robinhood customers, and crypto support is coming soon. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, them and Coinbase are pushing more and more of these kinds of things out to the public. So it seems like they are the chosen figureheads for this movement.
Yeah, I actually had some guys talking about some of this in the group chat. And if you guys are listening, Wes, if you're around, let me know if I'm wrong about this. But it was like,
What up, Wes?
there's like kind of some security concerns about using these things.
Please do share.
In terms of like, if you're connecting your agent to Robinhood, they might be able to see more of like they can see what you're doing in a way that would like lead them to be able to just have that information with like if your bot is connected to it and there's code behind that, like they might be able to see back into that code. You know what I'm saying, to some degree, and that could be revealing of operational things or whatever proprietary information that you may have, and you might be sharing your model, imagine, with Robinhood to some degree, right? But I guess that's kind of inherent in some ways, because they could also just monitor what's happening and reverse engineer whatever your model for trading is based upon what activity you're doing. But that's a different concern, I think, and much harder to like actually do versus if you can actually just peer back into the code in some way, right? I don't know though. I probably also don't understand what the actual security problem is, but that's just what came to my head.
Yeah, Wes, if you're here or if you see this on the replay, please educate us in the comments.
Yeah, somebody said, wait, what's wrong with Ledger? It's a crazy cliffhanger to leave you on for sure, but we will come back to it. FIFA with the record World Cup haul. Apparently, FIFA earned over $9 billion from the 2026 World Cup. The 48-team tournament across US, Canada, and Mexico featured 104 matches. The expanded format boosted ticket sales, broadcasting, and sponsorships. It surpassed all prior sporting events as the most lucrative ever.
Makes sense. It's like the biggest bread and circus there is.
Yeah, man.
Did you watch the final?
I did watch the final. And the Brazilians were pretty happy about Argentina taking that L.
Do they not get along?
No one really likes Argentina, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been hearing more and more of that. I'm ignorant.
Which is pretty cool. It's cool to have that become more and more like publicized.
Why do they dislike them?
They've just done some very extremely heinous things to people from their country over the past 100+ years.
Interesting.
You know, their indigenous populations, any of the black people, like they've completely kicked them out. They put them in wars to fight and die.
Wow.
And like I saw someone say, check me, but there was a time where there was 30% of Buenos Aires was black. And like now that's like something percent. You know what I'm saying?
How long ago was this?
I don't even know. But just to think that at any point that there was that 30%? Many black people in Buenos Aires is crazy. Because it's like, yeah, it's not a thing anymore.
Professor Jiang had said that his prediction was that he thought Argentina would win, and it would be the ushering in them as like one of the world superpowers coming forward.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm getting that wrong, any fans of Professor Jiang, just please correct me in the comments.
Yeah, I know Milei has been making some moves, but I mean, the currency's still collapsing. So I think he's probably getting rich or something, and like that might be about it. But yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know anything about Argentina personally, but yeah, it's been super interesting because I'm in the south of Brazil where a lot of people give this area the same kind of rap of like being more racist or whatever. And like, I don't feel any of that at all whatsoever. And it's interesting because Brazilians in general don't like Argentina mostly because of this thing. And so it's cool to see like they we hate Argentina. So it's actually kind of the opposite of what a lot of people say about the south of Brazil in that regard. But anyways.
Interesting.
Yep. Next piece. Amazon with a Japanese stablecoin payroll solution. So Amazon's biggest Japan delivery partner, AZCom Maruwa, is going to pay 2,300 drivers in yen stablecoin JPYC. So this marks the first large-scale corporate use of stablecoins for payroll in Japan. Drivers get instant fee-free payments instead of slower bank transfers.
Wow.
This is seen as a sign of mainstream crypto adoption in traditional logistics.
Man, Canada's going to have CBDC/stablecoins rolled out so quick because almost like so many people work for the government. The government's just going to mandate that like this is how we pay you now. You'd reach a critical mass just from the government employees inclusion, probably. Sorry, that's just where my head went when hearing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm surprised it's taken this long for Japan to do something like this, but this definitely is where things are going. Asia is very likely, I imagine, right, to be on top of this. They tend to move first.
I was listening to a podcast interview with Brian Armstrong. It was a really good podcast. I should have sent it to SIPA, but they were asking, does every country need their own stable coin in their own currency? And like, does that actually achieve anything type deal? And or does it end up being where the world is using the US dollar, which I'm sure a lot of people would not want, obviously. So yeah, if the speed of how quickly you involve these systems will probably dictate adoption.
Yeah. The digitization of fiat currency is something that I think is or tokenization of it, rather, even very interesting concept. And I guess another thing to look into for me is, for instance, does the Japanese stablecoin have the same kind of requirements the way that the US one does, where it needs to be backed with Japanese treasuries, right? Or something of that nature? Because I don't even know if that's how they work, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah. The next piece that I have, the London Stock Exchange threatening to go 24/7. No, apparently the London Stock Exchange is going to launch at some point round-the-clock trading to compete with 24/7 cryptocurrency platforms. The move directly competes with this always-on crypto concept, and it's aimed at retail investors who trade outside of normal hours, and also comes as U.S. exchanges also push for extended trading session hours. Any initial thoughts on this one?
It certainly seems like that's where things will go across the board, regardless of how it's implemented. It seems like the overwhelming demand, unless things completely fall over, will lead to that inevitable reality. But that's all I got on that. How about you?
Yeah, no, it's where we're at, folks. DTCC just went live last week with their first tokenized transactions, and so everything's moving in that direction. Next piece. Oh, yeah, the Tate brothers arrested in Miami. Andrew and Tristan Tate are these popular online influencers. They were detained by U.S. Marshals in Miami. This arrest follows UK request for extradition on dozens of new rape, assault, and trafficking charges. These charges involve multiple alleged victims from 2010 to 2017, and the brothers are denying all claims. This case draws massive attention due to their huge online following and ongoing legal battles.
Yeah, and then Jack Neal, who's a big podcaster, released an episode that he had pre-recorded for if something. Oh, we're reacting to it later. Okay, so a little teaser, because he had something pre-recorded that he released now because of this news.
Wow.
It's like a 3.5-hour podcast that was recorded in May.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of views, man. Like for something that long, it got a lot of views very, very quickly.
Right.
It's interesting to hear the story of how he was able to stay relevant for so long. And so much of it had to do with clipping and him being one of the first people that were doing that, where he reached a critical mass with his face, where then that continued to go even while he was in jail, right? Because normally when you lock someone up, their message stops, right? Whereas he had people financially incentivized to continue the amplification of his message. So even while he was in jail, it didn't really slow things down as much as you normally would. So it's very interesting. And yeah, we'll see what comes from it.
Totally. I can't ignore the memes that have come out of this as well. I have to throw them up for the culture. Why does Andrew Tate dress like Agnes Tachyon? I don't know the character, but
is it some anime thing?
Yeah, people have been coming at his fit as he got arrested there. I'm trying to find another one, but who wore it better? This guy says, "Why does Andrew Tate seems to dress like he's about to shoot some gay porn?" Someone said. I saw a lady who really was ripping him up, but I guess I lost it. So, anyways, there's that, and then also this moment where Andrew Tate's bodyguard realizes that he's getting approached by a U.S. Marshal rather than somebody who's
a normal guy.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, yeah. Step back and not touch this guy."
Yeah, that's not when you're gonna win.
So, yep. Let's see. Next piece. Anthropic launches a rare disease AI grant. So Anthropic is offering up to $50,000 in Claude AI credits to researchers and biotechs. This is the first focus call in their AI for Science program, and this aims to accelerate cures for rare genetic diseases and help scientists use AI for data analysis, modeling, and discovery where funding is limited. I thought that was pretty darn cool.
That's what I'm most hopeful for the evolution of this technology. Even if I hope it progresses in a decentralized, open source way that leads to these good outcomes. Because I have one buddy who's battled a very rare health condition for a long period of time, and so he's been a part of so many of these studies trying to solve it. And so hearing his experiences of going through that, it's just such a long, monotonous process that hasn't led to many great outcomes for him. So I'm really hopeful that this kind of stuff can really improve a lot of lives, hopefully, whether it's Anthropic or anybody else.
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of came up in my head about the conversation we were having earlier with Radhika, because like another reason why you ban open source AI, because she was like, "Oh, well, if they have the tech, you do too," kind of. I was like, "Okay, well, not if they ban open AIs or open source AI."
And then make the cost of GPUs crazy.
And that too, yeah, just making it too expensive even. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Next piece. Ortega ends elections in Nicaragua. I did see something about this, and I had literally saw this like an hour after I met someone from Nicaragua. So I wish I had known, because I would have asked, like, what is this about? Apparently, the Nicaraguan president, Daniel Ortega, announced that there will be no future elections to block opposition from taking power. The statement was made on July 19th during Sandinista Revolution anniversary speech. Ortega has ruled since 2007 with his wife, Rosario Murillo, as co-president. Interesting. And apparently he's ending any electoral challenge after recent term extending constitutional changes. And this is drawing global attention as further consolidation of authoritarian rule. So that's wild to me. Any initial thoughts there?
Do we have any sort of context for how the people responded to something like that?
That's a good question. I haven't seen that. Oh, I'm seeing the responses though, and I'm like, oof. So once again, this guy Cremio says, once again, a socialist anti-Catholic dictator has suspended elections in a Latin American country. Chris Evans said, coming soon to the United States. And I'm just like, dude, honestly, bro.
You've been saying that a long time.
I've been saying it. Like, I'm not going to be surprised by that. And then he did that speech last week, right? Where he like basically brought it up. He was like, elections are a problem. We need to fix them. You know, he's kind of planting the seed.
Yeah, and how they're all corrupt, but it's like, you won.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, but for the digital currency, crypto conversation too, for him to pull off something like that, I feel like that kind of stuff would have to be involved, which is maybe why he doesn't care about how much shady business they've been doing to accumulate wealth via crypto.
Wait, because why? I'm sorry.
If you know you're going to try to trigger some sort of massive event that totally fractures the structure of what finance is, and you know that this is going to be conducted with this, you don't care if people call you a scammer, because at the end of the day, if you have more of it and it goes up like crazy, then yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Why do I see the exact same statement used about America? Yeah, someone, I think it was a CEPA actually in Slack, said that we should do a future episode on elections. We should definitely try to find someone who is talking about those things often. So if you guys have any recommendations in the chat or later in the comments, definitely let us know, because
someone threw it in the chat. I think it might have been What a Sale actually who said it.
A specific person?
Yeah, well, no, he just said we should find a guest for that topic.
Yeah, I would love to. Like Charles talks about how the technology that could be used to make it better, but I'd love to hear people studying like why or why not.
Totally. Yeah.
Welcome back, RD. Her internet went out. Welcome back.
So the next piece, SpaceX Q2 2026 earnings announcement. So they're going to release their financial and operational results on August 4th. The company is hosting a live audio webcast the same day in the afternoon, and investors and space enthusiasts are following the updates on Starship, Starlink, and launch cadence. So I guess this is a good time to bring up the price chart of SpaceX, which has been performing not fantastically for past couple of weeks here. Let me see if I can get it up. But yeah, I mean, a lot of talk about this. In fact, I'll try to find a graphic that I found that I saw on Twitter from how do I want to about the release schedule also, because they haven't even started necessarily having the insiders sell yet. So first off, this is the price at the moment. Okay, it's come down a lot. There was some graphic about how Elon Musk lost $700 billion or whatever in the past few weeks, which is just so funny because it literally doesn't matter,
Oh yeah,
but it's just crazy, to think that that's something that is happening in the background.
I do wonder if OpenAI will ever even get the opportunity to go public.
I mean, it's definitely like the window's closing for sure,
which I'm cool with. But to be fair, but yeah, because they had planned them along with Anthropic to rush that into play, but I can't see the enthusiasm for the general retail market to be maintained unless this turns around pretty quickly.
No, totally. And maybe that was what Elon did. Maybe that was the big FU, honestly.
Beating the punch.
Yep. That's probably kind of what that was. Yeah, because then he turned to SpaceX XAI. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of just like,
Yeah, I want to look more into their feud to get the finer details, because for how much power they have and how much money they have, it is insane to see them go back and forth on Twitter.
For sure.
It's hilarious. It's so ridiculous. But
that's crazy to think, yeah, man. So this was the thing I wanted to bring up real quick, because people are this guy. I forgot where this actually came from. Unfortunately, this isn't the original creator of this, but basically just like pointing out, you've got the first wave of unlocks that are going to happen August 11th.
That's pretty soon.
Yep. And then September 24th and October and then November. And he's outlining he expects, to obviously see massive selling from those points. But anyways, anything else on that you want to say?
No, man. I think that we've been pretty consistent in our viewpoints of that throughout.
Yeah, we even had people kind of want to talk to us about space ETFs right around that time, and I was like, look,
and we turned it down.
Yeah, it was like that dude. Oh, you said that perfectly, Ben. Have you seen that thing of I turned it down?
No.
Oh, come on, man. You don't know that? Come on, man. I turned it down. He's talking about the scholarship that he had. I gotta play that.
Oh, he said to Jacksonville University or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
He's gonna give him millions of dollars to be in the band or something like that.
I turned it down, yo.
Ridiculous. So we got Age of Abundance here with us. You're going on the show on Friday, Keith?
Yes, I am. Yes, man.
You'll have
Yeah,
fun.
we'll see in just a bit.
We'll see if you come back at Bitcoin Maxi.
Yeah. Looking forward to my conversion. I'm getting baptized on Friday. But no, after this here, we got some memes, some stuff to react to.
Hit me with those memes, please. Okay. I'll hit us with the memes, please.
Perfeito. We switch spots. First things first. South Korea and their AI bubble just popped. Andre Schick is a personal finance YouTuber known for videos about investing money in crypto, and he makes a statement about what's going on with the South Korean stock market. Let's hear him talk about it.
So just 3 weeks ago, South Korea had the best performing stock market in the world. The stock market is something called the Kospi, and it's gone up almost 200% in the last 12 months. Compared to other stock markets like the US's S&P 500, which only made 24%, South Korea was just on another level. At one point this year, one of their companies, Samsung, was up over 500%, and SK Hynix was up over 1,000%. And that's basically a 10x on your money, which is just unheard of. And then, in just 21 days, everything started to collapse. The Kospi dropped 25%, and because of that, 1.2 million accounts, which works out to be 1 in every 30 people in the country, got hit with something called margin call thresholds. This is what happens when a stock goes down far enough to trigger the loan on the borrowed money to liquidate, or basically be forced to sell off their stock investment, even if it's at a loss. And that's why over 3 trillion won in investments were liquidated, which means they were automatically sold by brokers while Korean investors couldn't do anything about it. And if you don't have the money, the broker sells your shares at whatever price. Okay, they don't wait for a better price in the market. They do not care that you're down 40%. They just do it. Now, all of this,
unless you're super big,
pushes the stock.
Say that again.
Unless you're a massive fund,
Mm-hmm.
then they care. Then they turn off the buy button.
Right.
Prices down even more, which triggers more margin calls for the next group of investors who maybe got in a little earlier, which pushes the price down even more, right? Which triggers more margin calls. You get the idea. It's a doom loop. August 1987 was 2 months before Black Monday, the worst day in stock market history. Then March 2000, the exact month the dot-com bubble peaked. Then July 2007, that was months before the financial crisis. January 2018, August 2021, both followed by pretty big corrections. So every time US margin debt went to an extreme, a crash happened almost right after, every single time. Now, look at where we are today. As of June 2026, US margin debt just hit roughly 4.5% of GDP. That is the highest level ever recorded in American history. And as it turns out, there is one number we could look at right now, and that number is capital expenditures of specifically 4 companies: Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. That is it. That is the one number that's holding up the whole global stock market. Now, think about it like this. The whole Korean stock market crashed because investors got nervous that memory spending might slow down. Not that it did slow down, just that it might. Now, imagine what happens when one of these 4 major companies on an earnings call actually says, we're reducing our AI capital expenditures. That would be really bad, because the only reason these companies have been spending this insane amount of money is only because the stock market keeps rewarding them for it. And we kind of just got a preview of what that could look like because Korea just showed us, which is margin calls, it is forced selling, and the doom loop, and government intervention. For now, the analysts and the market are telling us that they have the utmost confidence that AI will continue to grow and that this is definitely not a bubble. But there was a tweet I saw that sort of compared all this to April 1912. As reports were coming in that the Titanic was in trouble, the vice president of the company that owned it said, "We have absolute confidence in the Titanic. We believe the boat is unsinkable." He said that after it hit the iceberg and it was already sinking. And that's how these things tend to go. 14 million Korean investors also had absolute confidence that 3 weeks ago, the market would continue going up.
How much have you followed that whole thing, Keith?
Not much.
They were taking on crazy amounts of leverage to continue it going up. And because there had been this mass change in ideology for where to put your money in the country. And so many people were just bought into the concept that, okay, we're not going to buy homes anymore. We're going all in the stock market as a young people. And so there was no amount of risk that was too much risk, because if everyone's doing it, like, just think of the groupthink that takes place there as well, right? So it's a truly insane thing where, yeah, it's great when it's going up, but it's equally horrible, if not more, when it's going down. And so they're experiencing a lot of that now. And the majority of the appreciation in the stock market, I believe, was from 2 companies, which is also highly concerning, right? So there's just so many bubbles all over the place that are quite problematic. And then I think it was How Are You Now in the chat said, how long until this spills over into America?
Right. Yeah. We'll see.
We will see. And Artie also had a really good point here too. I think this is really the underlying thing you've got to think about if deeming anything as a bubble, right? I think people love trading AI more than they love AI, or even I think more than they believe AI. I just think that enough people know that enough people are scared, and they have to believe in it. There's enough FOMO there where it's perception creates reality. And that's present in every freaking bubble. So yeah, it's crazy how over leveraged the world is, which makes me feel like the Great Reset thing, it might be something that we see.
Love it, man. Next piece was back to what you were saying earlier about the Andrew Tate situation. So apparently, Andrew Tate records an interview with Jack Neal to share his full account of ongoing legal struggles, anticipating potential future arrest or interference. He claimed that the human trafficking and organized crime allegations are part of a coordinated, corrupt effort by government entities to silence his public influence. The discussion details his defense against these accusations and his perspective on being unfairly targeted for his platform and views.
We'll definitely play the clip, but it's just such a crazy thing because, like, obviously he's saying his innocence, but then a lot of like his former quotes were basically saying the opposite.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some like videos even of some stuff that was a little bit concerning, at the very minimum, to him making any sorts of defense in his name around a lot of these things. And, he's a smart guy. So whatever he's about to say here, like, he does know that
It's calculated.
he has the chance to do this, right? Like, to defend himself and make people believe in him and like make this be a phenomenon that, like, oh, I said this before it even happened. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, well, you would do this even if you were completely guilty.
Exactly.
Right? so with that context, let's play it.
Totally.
Thing has started again, and I've analyzed this. You said game theory. I've analyzed this. There's too much on the line for me to win. $1 billion from Romania, at least another $1 billion from the UK. Prime ministers losing their job, the Foreign Office, all the civil service, all their corruption, all of that shit, the NGOs, USAID, Lustrada, all their fucking lawyers, all my assets. The Romanians still, even after they gave my passports back, kept all my money. They still have all my money and all my watches, all my stuff, all my gold. They still have my stuff, all of this stuff. If I sue girl A and my lawsuit in Florida is successful, then my school also, the attacks on that. Wait till I find out who's behind that and all that blows up again. They still lost control of the narrative. The reason this all started, they haven't fixed. No one believes I'm guilty. I've beaten them. There's so much on the line. They can't let me win. It's like Epstein. You just can't let him breathe. He knows too much. Too much has fucking happened. Too many people are going to burn. He has to die. They knew they'd get caught. And I say get caught. They didn't get caught as individuals, but we know they did it. Everyone knows they did it. They knew we'd know. They had no choice because there was too much on the line. There's too much on the fucking line to let me just depose this girl and win. So what's the alternative? They've tried to lock me up. That ain't working. They tried to delete me. That ain't working. Everyone's got their social media accounts back, but me. Remember, they're like, oh, conservative. Zuck's a conservative now. I'm at the UFC. I'm a conservative. Okay, Zuck, where's my Instagram? National security threat, terrorists. They have one move left. They tried the letters. That ain't going to work. They tried the money 2 days ago. That ain't going to work. They're going to try to kill me. And if they are successful, if they do kill me, all I hope is that this video is watched by as many people as possible so that something happens and changes. Because if you're a man who speaks the truth, your ability to speak freely is directly correlated to your insignificance. You are only allowed to talk the truth if nobody listens to you. If people are listening to you, if you become the most Googled man on the planet and you're saying the right things, they will do everything they fucking can to take you down.
So many things there. Yeah. Did he just compare himself to Epstein? That was one of the first things where I was like, oh, I don't know if that's where I'd go. But and then someone asked, he got a school. He had his online education program called Hustlers University. And I've mentioned this before, but I had a video talking about that whole thing. Like, it was my most viral video ever. It had like 17 million views. And then during the takedown of everything, it was something like that. Like it was over 10. And then it got taken down as well during like his takedown thing because they were trying to tear down everything. But he had all these clippers that were continuing to clip his stuff because they would clip the content to then promote the school. So they would have a clip of him saying the craziest stuff you could think of. And then at the end, they would sell it to like make more money at Hustlers University. So that's the thing there. But Keith, where did your mind go after hearing him speak?
No, I mean, well, he's an orator, you know, at the end of the day. He's got, you know, I probably would want to watch more of the interview and understand what's actually going on there, but
I watched it all.
Nice.
And it's actually insane. I've never seen an interview that skewed that much towards just the one person talking. Like, and obviously that's the context of what it was that was taking place, but Jack maybe asked like 3 questions. It was insane. But obviously with what they're saying, then yeah. So my mind went to how insane would it be if freaking Andrew Tate is a trigger of the Great Reset or whatever it was. And if you were trying to incite a violent reset, he'd probably be the tool to do it. So it's interesting. There's so many angles.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he definitely has lost a lot of public support. That's another thing that I was going to say is like people don't really watch him anymore or care about him anymore as much. So
no, because
the argument that he's like so powerful and important that they have to stop him doesn't really work as well.
Definitely not anymore. The half-life of fame is just so short at this point. And then he, does he sound believable, Ben? I think he believes what he's saying, right? So I wasn't there, but like, I think, I think he believes what he's saying, but I think a lot of people believe crazy shit.
Right.
So I recommend, if you're curious, listen for yourself, but it is the only thing I will say on the whole Andrew Tate thing is that, like, yes, he says the absolute craziest shit ever, but even if someone that you hate, if it's only formed from like clips, I don't think that's a good thing either way. Right? Like I saw all these people who were like so happy that he got arrested. And I understand if he did all these things, then totally get it. But a lot of people are getting their opinion and their news from 60-second clips. Like, how do you have this much of like a visceral reaction to something that you've only seen in 60-second bite-sized bits? It's just, it's a fascinating social experiment at play. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see what comes from this, because they've got a lot of charges. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Next piece that I've got here, Clarity Act. So Patrick Witt, who is a key Trump administration crypto advisor, apparently he had National Guard training, but he had this deferred to be able to keep leading on the Clarity Act's passage. The Clarity Act is aiming to give U.S. crypto regulatory clarity and make America the crypto capital of the world. And this bill nears a Senate vote after the House has already passed it. And basically, like, we just had one other thing that came into place to make this more likely, which was that apparently some of the Senate was asking for, or Congress was asking for Trump to basically have provisions or like things in the bill that say that you need to have an ethics piece where you can't trade crypto or like benefit from this bill going through, basically. And so apparently the White House said that that's cool, let's do it. And so now we're at a place where at least that's not the holdup for what's happening with the Clarity Act anymore. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it does get through, to be honest. I think it was always going to get through.
Yeah. I make the argument in the video that's coming out tomorrow that they kind of need to do it before everyone else does. And even that, to me, to an extent, is optics of like, oh, the whole world's doing it, you got to do it. Same thing with AI. Like,
Yeah, it's the same drill used over and over again.
gotta
And
do it.
Brian on the Tate point, he said, I invite you guys to understand the substance of what he's saying. Don't get caught up in his persona and delivery method. It's more or less what I was trying to say was have your own opinion, but make it from a place of substance. Like, have you consumed enough to even have an opinion is more the point that I was saying. And I would say the majority of the world on either camp haven't. Right? Like I would say even his rabid supporters don't really understand what he's saying and vice versa.
Yeah, totally. So we had a Senator, Mark Warner. He spoke last week at a Senate hearing calling for the Clarity Act. He said he's tired of being in crypto hell and wants America to lead in digital assets. Let's hear him say it.
Because I do want you to hear this. You know, as one bipartisan group still trying to get a Clarity Act done. We touched on this briefly. You would not want a Clarity Act that increased the ability of illicit finance to take place suddenly with the blessings of law, would you?
Well, thank you, Senator. I mean, it's vital that the Clarity Act provide tools.
Could you speak a little closer?
It's vital that the Clarity Act provide rules and tools for the Treasury Department and the administration to be able to counter illicit finance.
So you would be concerned if the Trump Department of Justice, with technical assistance, said that the standard proposed by industry and some of my Republican colleagues would actually make it easier for illicit finance to take place. This has just happened in the last couple of days. That would concern you, wouldn't it?
It would be concerning, yes, Senator.
Good. I tend to work with you and the secretary. You know, I want this done, and I am tired of being in crypto hell. But we got to do it in a way that doesn't make this circumstance worse. I want America to lead in digital assets. If we get it wrong, the downside ramifications could be huge as well.
Keith, your thoughts?
It's moving forward. It's definitely wild that we're at the point where you have senators, calling for the passing of the Clarity Act after all this stuff,
I think it gets done, but you had to do it like this to make people even look into what it was. Like, it had to be talked about so many times for people to even ask the question, like, what is this? So I think it was always going to be done like this with a lot of theatrics.
It's crazy, man. But yep, that's that on that. Anything else?
No.
Cool. Next piece, as I mentioned earlier, Ledger has had some trust issues exploding. There was an article that this guy, the Smart Ape, put out, diving deep into why you're not safe with Ledger. I recommend just looking through it. Essentially, I haven't been able to read this at all, but I'll just read the summary that he makes here. He says, be Ledger. Sell a little box so your keys never leave the device. Confirm that a firmware update cannot extract the private keys. 6 months later, launch a firmware that extracts the seed and mails it to 3 companies. Get caught. Tweet, technically, it always has been possible to extract your keys. You just trusted us not to. Delete the tweet.
That's crazy.
Also leak 270,000 customers' names and home addresses onto a hacker form. Then ship a wallet drainer inside your own software, 600,000 gone. Tell the entire crypto ecosystem to stop launching dApps. See you on a podcast. Quote, the only concern is if a government subpoenas us, end quote. 2026, push an update that decides what your own keys are allowed to do. Still call it self-custody.
Is that all accurate?
I have no idea. I mean, what's so interesting is that like this isn't even new, really. Like I think the only part of that that's new was that piece at the end where he said, "Push an update that decides what your own keys are allowed to do." I think a lot of this other stuff is old.
Mm.
Because I do remember the leak of the customers' names and their home addresses. That happened a few years ago, like almost 21, maybe 2021. And I've definitely been pretty vocal with people about Ledger because of that alone. Like it's not something that they could ever go back from, or like that they could like do anything different with. It's like they had a internal database problem and leaked their addresses, but like it did happen. So just know that that's the company that you're still dealing with, But yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that people don't look at these hardware wallets just like the end all be all. Like it's really not. Especially Ledger. Ledger's like the most tied in with like governments and stuff. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Artie says Cyber Skrilla on YouTube has the best videos on wallets. And then Cross Central said, yes, his article is accurate, according to Cross Central.
Word, man. Yeah, so always diversify your holdings across different methods and places and stuff.
No doubt.
So, yep. Let's see. Anything else on that one?
Nothing from me.
Lynn Alden, Bitcoin as permanent capital edge. So Lynn Alden is an investment strategist and author known for research on macro, Bitcoin, and global financial markets. She co-founded Orange Juice, which is a new Bitcoin-backed holding company. And this company acquires cash flow businesses permanently and compounds earnings into buying more Bitcoin. Alden contrasts its Bitcoin rocket fuel edge with private equity flips and Berkshire Insurance float. She launched with a $40 million raise, and this sparks interest in BTC treasury strategies. Let's hear her talk about it.
If you kind of back up and say, why aren't there just more permanent capital vehicles out there? There are a handful, but why aren't there a ton? And the general answer is because you need some sort of edge. So if you're buying small businesses, small cash flow businesses at low multiples, you generally need an edge that would push your returns higher. And for PE, for private equity, their answer is flip it. Their answer is, we don't want to hold these longer term. We're not interested in that kind of slow and steady approach. We want to buy a company, gut it, lever it, find ways to juice up the multiple and get out. And that if you do that over and over again, that's their juice. If you're Berkshire Hathaway that is buying companies and holding them long term, their main juice is that they have the best source of like leverage in the world, which is their insurance float. So Berkshire Hathaway is, it's one of the biggest insurance companies in the world. And insurance float is an incredibly low cost of leverage. It's an incredibly stable source of leverage. And then they also, of course, have other types of corporate leverage. I mean, they have one of the lowest borrowing rates in the world. So they're able to go out, buy these businesses, and they're doing it on insurance float. And they're doing it on some of the lowest bond yields in the world. And that's their juice. And for Orange Juice, name implied, our general view is that our kind of X factor, our juice, is that we think Bitcoin is kind of a little bit of a rocket fuel to kind of push you over that edge.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely sounds solid from a concept point of view. But she's also involved with Jeff Booth's, what's it called again? What's their Ego Death? She's a partner there too. So I'd be very curious to hear if he's involved with this in any way, how he feels about it, all that stuff. But yeah, it seems more in alignment than the other like treasury companies, I'd say.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, a lot of it's the opposite, or it's just not about acquiring cash flow generating assets and using them to buy Bitcoin. That's a much stronger narrative for sure. For
real businesses. Yeah. No, makes sense. And RD said, anyone listen to Lynn Alden? I try to at least once a week. We would definitely love to have Lynn on. We tried,
Totally.
but getting those comments, tell her to come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I guess if you're a partner, if you're a GP in a fund, first off, I guess it depends on how large your fund is. Like you don't have to necessarily file with the SEC in any way if you're not past a certain size. But I bring that up because like it is kind of a conflict of interest. If you're a GP in multiple funds that have the same buy box, meaning that are going after the same companies, because it's like, okay, which company gets the deal, or which fund rather gets the deal.
Yeah, well, I think Ego Death is only Bitcoin first companies, right?
Word.
So I think this would be traditional businesses to then acquire more Bitcoin.
Gotcha. Fair.
Is my ignorant attempt at an understanding.
No, that makes so much sense compared to what she did say. Like they're flipping private equity, right, and like having an edge on private equity in particular, right, by buying Bitcoin with the free cash flows or whatever. So yeah,
totally. Yeah, and she also got a book, as Cross Central said, called Broken Money.
Yes.
I'm halfway through listening to that.
Fire. Next piece, Scott Galloway. He's a professor, entrepreneur, author, and podcaster known for his commentary on business, technology, and culture. And he is predicting that there will be a new CEO at OpenAI within 6 months. He calls him Altman an innovator, not an operator, and that there's a need for an adult in the room. Let's hear him say it. Yeah.
This is all going to lead in. I'm teasing my prediction here. We're going to have a new CEO at OpenAI within the next 6 months.
Could you expand on that prediction while we're here?
We're about to see OpenAI acquire a company called Sierra. And that is, the best companies don't stop at the platform. They develop their own applications. Microsoft didn't stop at Windows. It built or bought and built Office. Apple didn't start with iOS. It built the App Store. OpenAI is worth about $500 billion, $500 billion. Sierra, which is essentially, Sierra has one of the best enterprise AI products. And they're going to, I believe they would check so many boxes acquiring Sierra and installing Brett Taylor as the CEO, because OpenAI has one of the best frontier models and Sierra has one of the best enterprise AI products, and Brett Taylor may be the best enterprise software operator of his generation. So as foundation models get cheaper, the intelligence will be commoditized, and it'll be, the scarce asset won't be IQ, it'll be customer relationships, workflow integration, and enterprise trust. That's Sierra. And at $5 billion, which is what it's worth in the market, say you pay 10, that's a 2% dilution. And you not only get real progress in your application layer, you get something that'll increase the value of OpenAI by $100 billion by calming the waters with someone who is seen as not only someone who understands the technology, but has a very elegant, smooth hand around retention of employees and smoothing over. Keep in mind, this is the guy that shoplifted $44 billion from Elon Musk and forced him to close and didn't get into a pissing match with Elon Musk. Elon Musk does not shitpost Brett Taylor. Think about it. He had to pay $44 billion for a company that's now worth $3 billion, and he's not out calling Brett Taylor a crook. So this solves the Altman problem, the insecurity in the market problem. Brett Taylor will get cloud cover to make massive reductions in CapEx. They can pay Brett $5 or $10 billion of that incremental 100 in increase in valuation they get the day they announce this acquisition. This is just makes so much industrial logic. Anyways, OpenAI acquires Sierra and installs Brett Taylor as their CEO and kicks Altman up to chairman.
So Jordy Visser had the same prediction, I think, before Prof G, not on the specific individual, just that Sam would be out as CEO. I think we may have even covered it on the show before. So I just want to give credit where credit is due. Jordy did say this first, but Prof G took it a step further to provide a specific roadmap of how that takes place. So definitely interesting. And I would agree with a lot of the thesis. I think why I've pretty consistently seen AI as a bubble is not because I'm looking at the technology. I'm looking at like, where does the value accrue to from all this money that's being spent? And I don't think that unless OpenAI changes pretty dramatically from how they currently are functioning, that they can capture enough to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's always first off, it's always hard to know where someone like who said something first.
I'm saying I saw it first from
Yeah,
him. But it was
right.
pretty. It was a few weeks ago,
Right, right.
and that said just recorded July 16th, I think. So that was like 5 days ago.
Yeah, there's so many things with that, right? Because when was it recorded for one, and then also like when did it come out versus when it was recorded? Plus,
I'm not saying he stole his idea. I'm just saying I'm fairly certain Jordy Visser said that prediction first. That's all I'm saying.
and I'm just thinking about it from a media literacy perspective for everybody else too. It's like I've had videos where I put out like the day after, but I had filmed it well before. You know what I mean? And so like it looked like I was like copying someone, but I wasn't.
Mhm.
And then yeah, but
It's inevitable reality. We all come to the same ideas as well over enough time looking at something. But Prof G does a really good job of everything they post. They specify when it was recorded too.
totally. And then Brian Mario was like, I can't stand this guy. I can't stand this effing guy. Wow.
Why such a strong reaction?
And it's so interesting, Brian, because like I watched Prof G before he was Prof G. Like he's like this whole like commentator now, but he was a professor and he put stuff out on the internet and stuff like that, but more as like lectures and like, talking about stuff. So he's definitely changed a lot. You know what I mean? And my perception of him has changed a lot in that as well. At least how he is in the public has changed a lot. So I do hear it. I do hear it. But yeah, I'm curious as to what exactly makes you feel that way. But he said, you ever hear someone and think they're full of ish? Yeah, that's what Brian Mario said is why he doesn't like to hear him as much. And then Cross Central said, Keith, do you still think AI isn't in a bubble? Oh man, that's tough. Yeah, because I remember very vocally saying like the whole stock market is a bubble, right? So it's like, why is AI in particular a bubble? I think what's happened here is that AI has become more and more of the stock market, right? So it's more directly that AI is a bubble, I guess.
A lot like the governance political structure debate. The same is true here, right? There's semantics is a big part of this. Everyone has different definitions for what designates something as a bubble or not, which is something that we'll talk about in the community, where someone's going at me for saying that Pokemon cards are a bubble. So same sort of thing, right? It's all opinion based.
Word. And then M Green said, react to the Black Boy Max clip. I don't know if I saw that. You see any idea what he's talking about? And then Brian Mario said, trust me, I kept my opinion PG. Don't want to get incommunicative from this channel. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. He's definitely like he's turned into so much more of a personality. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, he kind of has to be. He's filled a role of basically, I think, in a large way, trying to be like the left-wing Joe Rogan, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yep. Because otherwise, like, he's a very smart guy. You know what I mean? And he could totally be a lot more like balanced, but he just
totally. No, he's fully bought into the one specific side for sure. But I will give him some credit. He's been having on some crypto people.
Nice.
And trying to discuss with them, not who I would have had on, but he still is having on people that, yeah.
Totally. And then next piece, according to Ashton Forbes, known for the MH370 orb.
Oh, dude, are you familiar with that whole thing?
I don't know what I'm reading.
Okay, so if I recall correctly, I'm almost certain that this is the guy who, that flight that got taken away, that just like disappeared.
Like the Bermuda Triangle stuff. I don't know.
So let me make sure that I'm talking about the right guy. Yeah, cool. So there's that footage of a flight that's going.
Footage.
And then there's 3 little circles that spin around, and then poof, it's just gone, and they still haven't found it or tracked it down. And he's been screaming on Twitter like profusely that essentially that this is something that's trying to be covered up and speaking more to advanced technology that we have. But I'll let you get back to it. I just want to provide some more context.
Well, so is that like an old phenomenon, or when did that happen?
When did the flight actually happen? I want to say a few years ago. Let me see.
Interesting. don't think I really saw anything about that.
Really?
No, man.
Okay, so let me see. I'm sure there'll be somebody who's seen this who can provide way more context in the comments. So please do so if you're seeing this. Yeah, Malaysia Airlines flight 370. Oh, it's a long time ago. It's 2014.
Okay.
Have you seen the video?
That makes it feel more familiar to me, but I don't know. I don't know that I've seen that.
Flight video, because he breaks down that all the time on his Twitter. So I'll let you get back to it. But I have the video here.
Yeah, play the video real quick for some context.
Okay, so I'll try to play it here. Yeah, RD's quick with it, faster than me. Okay, let me share my screen here. This is from Reddit. Okay, and then here's the flight, the 3 little dots, and then it's gone. So I'm hopeful it'll show more angles. Let's see here. There's the flight. Here comes the objects. I see single object. Oh, there's 2. And 3. Doing a circle. And oh, it's 4 now? Dang. It's just now 3. Must have been an illusion. And it should poof here pretty soon. Yeah. That's it,
Wow.
Keith. Wow. So that's full context. Now continue. Sorry, I cut you off. I figured it was that thing.
Perfect. I have no idea what's going on. So Ashton Forbes is claiming that the U.S. possesses working teleportation technology. He made a statement that's saying, in case something happens to him, urging the world to know this fact. This post went viral with millions of views amid public fascination with hidden advanced technology. So this guy went viral for this. He said the answer is Hall Puthoff's space-time metric engineering, which he was nominated a Nobel Prize for.
And people are saying in the chat that apparently there are important people on the plane. So people have been teasing it. And then Multimatic Mike gave some specifics. So allegedly there were the majority of patent holders for microchip technology on the plane. Once the flight disappeared, the patent was bought for $500 million a week later. So is this like the equivalent of the Titanic theory for central banking?
Right. Yeah, super fascinating there. Super fascinating.
Yeah. Was there anything else in the story?
Nothing from that story.
But a lot of people believe that there's some tech that has not been disclosed, and that's held at either bases like Area 51, or a lot of people think it might be stored in Antarctica because we're not allowed to go there. So,
right. The next piece that I have here is a free Palantir-style war room goes viral. So this guy, Eli Koala 73, open sourced a World Monitor, which is a real-time global intelligence dashboard that mimics expensive government tools. It features a live 3D globe, 500 plus AI summarized news feeds, 56 map layers, country instability scores, and markets and crypto tracking. This runs fully local with OLAMA, no API keys needed, native desktop apps for Windows, Mac, and OS Linux. So apparently, yeah, this is something that this guy created. It's going super viral.
what is like? What do you think from reading and seeing that?
I mean, I guess this is what happens when you have open source AI. People can also be as on top of the stuff as a Palantir. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, Palantir, and you got like Peter Thiel. You got some very powerful figures that have some very bad PR that they gotta try to deal with, and it'll be like for some of them, I don't know if they're surmountable, but we'll see.
Yeah. So some of the comments in reaction to this is guy in the movie gets corrupted by some obviously evil artifact. Me, what an idiot. That thing is so obviously evil. And then me using the device that inflicts psychic damage on me 24/7. And then he said, boys, if you thought you were monitoring the situation before, time to take it to a whole new level, from Greg ZAJ. The other guy was Hina Bobina. And then this guy said, open source, Gaigus said, open source is true freedom. Only monopolists hate it. So a little bit of the rhetoric around that. But anything else on that one?
No, man.
Cool. Next piece I got is Eggman beats Heatwave with Tesla camp mode. So Joel Eggman, the Tesla camper creator, slept overnight in his Model X during Austria's 40 degrees Celsius heat wave. Camp mode kept the cabin cool at a cool 20 degrees Celsius for 8 hours straight. Let's see. The car used about 55 kilometers of range, which is about 12% of its battery.
Well, I really don't mind those hot summer nights because I set the Tesla camp mode to 20 degrees. So it's actually very nice in here, almost a little bit too cold. So that's why I need the blanket. Well, I really don't mind those hot summer nights because I set...
That's a clever ad for Tesla.
Right. No doubt about that.
Would you ever get a Tesla, Keith?
Probably not.
Because you're a car guy.
Yeah, I just, probably that's a big part of it. I just never saw a Tesla as a cool thing. Plus, all the people that I knew that, like, the Tesla brand was ruined for me by the people that I know that got them really early on.
Interesting. And how would you describe those people?
Just like hype beasts, basically.
Interesting. Okay, so they were getting it for clout, not because they like the tech.
Exactly. And I was just like, all right, well, that's not cool anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, Teslas are super cool. And I was also fully bought into the fact that they were like saving the world. Because, especially here in Canada, we were so big on climate change and like recycling and things of that nature. And so then a lot of people who did have it here, that's why they said they bought it. So I was like, yeah, me too, recycle. Which is so ridiculous if you look into how they make their batteries and everything. What up, Matthew? Welcome.
But yeah, it's kind of funny, man. Like, yeah, dude, I just remember a kid like obsessing over a Tesla purely because someone else had it, low-key. And I was like, bro, that's not cool.
Europeans won't buy an AC unit, but would get a Tesla.
I saw some really good memes about that piece. It was like Trump presenting in I am just gonna play it for you because it's kind of funny. It's time for some pure memes, anyways.
Hit me with it.
So Trump over here.
This AC unit is Farhan. Great game. This AC unit is for you.
Gracias, Mr. President. It's so cool.
Best ACs, better than metals. Enjoy the cool.
Thank you so much. This is amazing.
You're welcome. Let's hear it for the team.
Gracias a todos.
Dude, AI is crazy.
Yeah, it is insane. So that was, Spain winning the World Cup, getting him presenting the AC unit.
Crazy. See, so Thomas knows my experience as well because we went to schools very close to each other. My 8th grade teacher had me thinking Tesla was going to change the world. You and me both, Thomas. I was bought into the propaganda.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, pure memory. Somebody brought up like Black Boy Max as well.
I've never even heard of Black Boy. Who's that?
Really? He's one of these streamer cats, bro.
I've probably seen his face.
Yeah, for sure. He's so there's the streamer you thing going on, right? That Kai Cenat did.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
And so like it's kind of weird because like anything that you see from that, like it's kind of propaganda. You know what I mean? Like
for the program.
Yeah, like it's literally streamer you.
Yeah,
right?
so all attention is good attention.
Yeah. But I'll see what I guess this is here.
You didn't mention it. You don't know how much I appreciate you. But you bigger than that, nigga. Don't forget niggas like you for your personality, nigga. Is you crazy?
Which one's which?
Oh, no.
The guy on the left is Black Boy Max.
I've seen him.
Okay, I don't know this other guy.
He has some super viral clips that I've seen.
For sure, bro. For sure.
Persona, nigga. You broke through with music. Is you crazy? So niggas suck my dick. Niggas don't like you. It's
We're
like
getting demonetized after this one for sure. This guy's screaming profanities.
Okay, should I cut it?
What's the point of showing this one? Like, what are we trying to see?
The point is, apparently he's getting called out for acting feminine. I don't even understand actually.
On stream, or what's the concern?
Like basically, like his whole personality is him acting feminine for attention or something like that. I don't actually know.
Bro, everyone has a persona. Like, who cares? That's interesting. If someone can give me more context.
Yeah.
I've never seen that guy though.
This dude said, "Are you serious right now? Ain't nobody looking like this for tell me what to do with my life."
That's kind of what I was thinking too, with the Cyclops glasses. Could be a cool dude, and I don't understand fashion at all. But
are you gonna tell your son?
Oops, sorry. The rigmarole treatment have to go through just to be themselves when heartbreak for them. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't even know what's going on. So I'll move on to the other.
Tall dude is a weirdo. I think Tio's being facetious here. Amazing coverage, fellows.
Next piece, some memes stuff. Just in, Jim Cramer says the market is miserable. People are angry. Crypto shove it up to you. He said full send. Let's see what else we
Pudgy
got.
Penguins is always on it too.
And wait, what happened? Did
I'm
he
saying
comment?
whoever they
nice.
always reply to everything. Like whoever runs their Twitter is active.
Word.
So I guess he was. So Playboy Max, Mr. Green's giving us more context. I started wearing wigs and saying men should twerk.
Oh,
interesting. I don't know. I can't keep up with all this crap, man. It's so insane. But there's the whole Cat Williams dress thing that maybe that's what people are getting up in arms about.
What did he do?
Cat Williams has basically said, I think it was the first time he said this, probably wasn't the first time, but where a lot of people saw this for the first time was when he went on Shannon Sharp's show. And he said that essentially Hollywood has this humiliation ritual where they put, I think it was he was saying predominantly black men in like a dress. Might be men, period. But a lot of the examples they showed on the screen were like Kevin Hart and a few other black actors that were forced to go into a dress for a role. And he's basically saying that's like your initiation into the club. Where like basically that's a symbol that you are now bought, basically.
Right. Yeah. Cat exposes a lot of the game, man. Yeah, that interview was massive, bro.
That changed a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's crazy. I forgot about that. It's crazy how he's just been able to skirt all that stuff, man, for real.
I think, yeah, he's obviously a free thinker. And it was crazy that it happened on Shannon Sharp's show.
I feel like athletes get away too. Like they typically end up, and he built his own platform afterward. You know what I'm saying?
I just mean it's super funny how like that didn't come out on all the other podcasts that he's been on, but like Shannon was able to pull it out of him. You know what I mean?
True. No, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it was also the timing of it. It was fresh off of something where he came into it ready for that. And that may be one of the most viewed podcast episodes ever.
Word.
It's up there.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're making me think to look because I do remember that popped off.
Dude, it was crazy. It was a good watch objectively too. And because it's Cat Williams, there were so many quotable moments.
Bro,
did he want a party? You gotta tell him no.
That's what it was. That's what I was thinking, because there was something culturally relevant that was happening. That's what it was.
Yeah, I think it might have been the Diddy stuff.
Yeah.
There's a few things that he got onto.
Yeah. That thing has 93 million views, bro.
And how long is it? It's 2 hours plus, isn't it?
It's 2 hours 46 minutes.
Bro.
That's crazy. That's crazy, bro.
If you have the time, I think it is worth the watch, though, truthfully. It was quite entertaining.
Most F, man.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. He does give them liquor. Shannon Sharpe does.
And
it doesn't take much for the social lubricant element to take place.
Right.
So, yeah, even 1 or 2 drinks. Because even Shannon had said, he's like, whoa, Kat, now you might be getting yourself into trouble. And he's like, I'm sober, don't worry. Brian says, I must be living under a rock. I have no idea who these people are.
Oh, wow.
That one is like a little hard to not have seen at least clips from. But
yeah, and I mean, Shannon Sharpe, like if you don't follow sports, you won't know him.
Very true.
But Cat, yeah, I mean, they're both pretty well known. So
apparently he got the dress thing from Dave Chappelle, or is that the Diddy thing that the joke that I just took from Cat?
I don't know.
Not sure.
I mean, they both call stuff out, though. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They both expose the way the industry works and whatnot.
93 million
that's crazy, bro.
That's absurd.
Like I definitely didn't realize it was that big. Now I'm like, wait, what are Joe Rogan's biggest ones even? Because no,
he's bigger.
Joe Rogan's biggest one is 66 mil.
Wow, he beat it by a wide margin.
With Bob Lazar, and then even the Trump one only has 62, bro. So
that's a pretty wide margin.
It is. Let's go back 93 on Club Shay Shay. Let's see if he has anything else though that's popped like that.
You can't.
No.
It's still 18 is crazy too.
Yeah. Fascinating, man. That's telling, bro. Like that only happens because man spitting something. You know what I'm saying? Like now I'm thinking even like Diary of a CEO because also he's not super heavily edited the same way that Joe Rogan is not super heavily edited.
Yes.
So there's multiple reasons why it getting that many views is kind of crazy. Doak, his highest one is 20 mil.
Shay Shay bigger than Joe?
Uh-oh.
Is that the case?
I don't think so, no.
Shay Shay has 4.27 million subs. And what does Joe have?
He has 21 million.
Yeah, he's been doing it for way longer, though.
Yeah, it's very hard to try to...
The critical mass that he reached is just such a cheat code. Yeah. Where people keep him relevant because they clip up his stuff or use his face as a hook all the time. Or like let's say it's even a clip for somebody else. They'll use the clip from when that person was on Joe's podcast because the curtains are such a recognizable thing where people stop and pay attention.
Totally. I'm looking at Brian Mario. I didn't realize he also said, nor do I have any desire. Maybe if you're talking about Black Boy Max or something, bro. Yeah. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. But
yeah. What else? Do we have any more reactions / memes, or are we all through them all?
Couple meme ideas here we gotta throw up. Financial advisors putting your money in an index fund for you. I think I've seen this one before. Probably played it, but so funny nonetheless.
That's so good, man.
Yeah. The next one. Trump media considers charging traders and investors up to $100,000 a month for faster access to President Trump's Truth Social posts. That's been breaking the waves. And so Money Lord said, President launched a paid group. Great time to be alive.
Okay, yeah, that's really funny, actually. And Thomas said, the fact that the Fear Factor guy became this huge is wild. Yeah, a lot of people forget that was really Joe's most relevant mainstream thing, was the host of Fear Factor.
Yep. That's how I remember seeing him as a kid. You know?
Yeah, I didn't know any of his comedy. I hadn't seen any of the few shows that he had been on. And then I didn't care about the UFC, so I wasn't there when he was promoting that or like fighting people on ESPN about why the UFC will be huge. There's like this famous back and forth that he had with a boxing enthusiast and like coverage guy. And some of the things he said aged really well, some aged really bad, but the enthusiasm was there nonetheless.
Wow. And then I don't know if you updated everyone on what your sister said.
Oh, yeah. So to close that loop, I had asked my 22-year-old sister, saying, like, do you know who Joe Rogan is? And her response was, isn't he an inspirational speaker? Self-help kind of guy. And I'm like, that is awesome. Because if you think about where she would have even known who he was from, it would be clips. And most of his most viral clips have been him talking about like a friend or like men's mental health type stuff.
Like the Theo Von thing,
totally.
for instance.
Yes. So I was like, that's absolutely hilarious. I was like, thank you, Abby.
That's awesome, man.
And shout out to her. Actually, she got her first real estate listing the other day. So congratulations.
Let's go. Shout out. Good stuff, man. Next piece. How's the job search going? Is the text in the top of the screen, and then this is the
best crypto asset. Okay, what's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset.
A little bit nervous about the
music for sure.
But you get the idea.
I totally captured the point.
Oh man. Next piece. So there was some meme coin that launched, and Brian Armstrong was having to say, I have nothing to do with that coin. RB3K said Churches got Brian moving like Bill Clinton back in 1998. Saying I had nothing to do with that coin. Kind of like how Bill Clinton was like, I had nothing to do with that woman.
Man, Brian's point here, talking about Joe. Do you have anything else you want to show?
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure I didn't cut you off with something you want to show them. So referring to Abby thinking that Joe Rogan was an inspirational speaker, they're like, they confused him with Tony Robbins. I consulted with Tony Robbins for a brief period of time, and that's exactly what I said. I literally said, and I quote, I was like, I don't think my sister would know who Tony is, when I was talking to his team. And I was like, you guys need to remedy that. And they're like, how would you do it? And I was like, I would have him go interface with streamers. That's what I would have done. Like, imagine if he went and gave his session, like these people, he'd blow their mind. Of course, you'd have to be selective with which one you pick, because some may try to make it a spectacle, but he can roll with the punches for almost anything. So yeah, my sister didn't know who Tony Robbins was. So that's something I was telling as well. She thinks Joe Rogan is a inspirational speaker and doesn't know who Tony Robbins is. I was like,
yeah, that's crazy. That's a super interesting thought. But yeah, man, Tony Robbins, man, him on a streamer would be crazy. I mean,
the clips would have gone insane, because these guys have been taught to be jesters, largely the streamers, right? They're always like, whoa. So imagine just like hearing decent advice. They'd lose their mind.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be a spectacle watching him talk to these kids, like Aiden Ross or something. You know,
that was the exact name that I said. I was like, because I think Aiden, if you went into him beforehand being like some context of why you should be respectful, he probably would be to a degree. He does some crazy stuff, like when he smelt Andrew Tate's chair. Did you see that? They just try to do anything for the clip by any means necessary, right?
Oh man,
super strange stuff. But is that all the memes?
No, I got a couple more.
Okay.
VC catches a founder Euromax.
Jason, I thought you were in Switzerland to raise funds. What are you doing at the most expensive hotel in Switzerland?
I'm staying here.
You're staying at the Stadt Palace with my money?
Part of the business trip, right? Like
this is a business trip. This is a business expense. You're a tech nerd. You shouldn't even know about this hotel. This is for people who have IPO'd. Did you IPO?
Not yet, but we're going to.
Wait, is that Luca Faloni?
Is
that a Luca Faloni shirt?
Their summer collection. I just picked it up. Do you like it?
I want you wearing the same shitty dark gray t-shirt for the rest of your life until you IPO. Is that a whoop? No, it better be bad, because I want you working a lot. What's the score?
I mean, yesterday was 98% sleep score.
98% sleep score?
I thought
Are you a baby or are you a tech founder? I'm done. Francesco, can we get this guy out?
No.
He doesn't belong here.
Okay.
There's a hostel down the road. Yeah, my chauffeur will take you. Don't worry.
I'm a guest.
Francesco.
I want to. I have him.
That guy makes a lot of funny stuff with the whole like VC meme that world has become.
Word.
Silicon Valley, VC, whatever.
Word. Yeah. It's pretty good there. Until you IPO, bro, like, what are you doing? You know?
Get out of the resort, man.
Sleeping and stuff. That's crazy. This other one was, nah, this can't happen, right? Talking about apparently the bottom of the Bitcoin market happened at the last World Cup. So this guy is referring to that. I mean, they are 4 years apart, so that's also part of the phenomenon. So this is possible.
And then Andre Jick made the joke that I believe it was that Shrek pretty tightly lines up with the popping of a bubble every time a new Shrek is released.
Oh.
Yeah. So he said, and then a new Shrek is coming out very soon, apparently.
Oh, snap.
Yes.
The final one I have here is talking about a dream house. Let's see what this guy is talking about here.
I'm looking for a simple, traditional house. It's always been my dream to have a 2-story house with 5 bedrooms. I'd also love for it to have lots of windows, tons of natural light, and a nice yard. If it has a pool, even better. And if it has a lake view, that would be perfect. The only thing is I need 100% financing because I don't have any money for a down payment. Right now, I'm making about $2,000 a month, depending on the month. And well, I wouldn't want the house to be more than $150,000 either. So yeah, let me know what you can find for me.
You really do be like that sometimes.
That's funny. Is this guy a realtor?
I'd imagine. The Shrek Bubble Index, says Brian. And then they've got confirmation that Shrek 5 isn't until next June. So I guess the AI bubble has some time.
Word up on that. So yeah, with all that, I guess the only thing we've got is the
community?
The community section.
Let's jump into the community section.
So Ben, first off, there was also something that you said you were going to write down because you wanted to make sure.
We already talked about it. Okay. It was more or less, yeah, we're good.
And then you
Thanks
said
for remembering. I appreciate
something about the Pokemon as well. Was it on that episode?
It's on our, I believe it's our most recent episode, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I just figured we would talk about it then.
Cool.
He's a cool guy. He's commented on stuff before. Or girl, I don't know the gender.
Don't be assuming.
That'll get you shot.
So the next, Thursday, we had a conversation, just you and I guess, chatting about the AI bubble and its potential to finally be popping. And we had some comments. So let's hear what some people had to say. So
I'd zoom in so people can.
Slitherman said, the thing that separates SoFi from most all of other neobanks is that it's an actual chartered bank and thus has FDIC insurance. A lot of the other ones, the famous ones I know, like Wise and Revolut, among others, aren't FDI insured at all. And a lot of the times, the accounts aren't separated but pooled into a big fund. There was a video on it from More Perfect Union that went deeper into it. Pretty interesting vid. Cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I said, cool. Thank you for sharing. And why they brought that up is because Graham Stephan was doing a promo for them. And I guess that makes sense why Graham Stephan would be associated with them more so than any of the other ones.
Totally. Yeah, that's a very, very, very good insight there. And it's interesting that More Perfect Union would do a whole piece on that. I wonder what the angle was. Like, are they saying that these are like not safe?
Maybe it was a sponsor from SoFi.
Or maybe it was sponsored by SoFi. Let's see here. And then Tone World said, LOL, study Pokemon cards a little more, Ben. It's overdue for a correction, but not really a bubble because it's been 30 years of investing. And then looks like we had a response. Look into how much money laundering is going on. It has bubble written all over it, in my opinion. Time will tell. And then Tone World said, it's been 30 years. Time has already told us. But the money laundering thing can be said about art, crypto, anything, and it's a bad counter. And then Ben said, how long were homes for sale before that bubble pops? Struggling to see the relevance.
Yeah. So if my point is bad, that one's worse. that because it's been for sale for 30 years, it can't be a bubble. I don't think that's all that relevant. And the point that I was going to share here, Tone, was this doesn't necessarily mean that I am right or that it will pop, but this is and I think I've shown this before, but this is the Google Trends for worldwide searches of Pokemon cards. And right when we had our episode is right around when it topped at 100%. And it is now dropping down to about 80. And so this also comes into the question of like semantics, right? Because like, what is a bubble? And if it's a bubble amidst a ton of other bubbles and it pops, are you going to say it wasn't a bubble? It's only because the AI bubble popped. It's like, can there be more than one bubble, right? There's so many opinions here and so much semantics. So I just think that the majority of people who are buying these cards for crazy prices, they're not passionate fans like all the people who are saying Pokemon cards aren't a bubble. I just don't think that's true. And I think that you'd find that out really quickly if we did experience like a 20 to 30% correction, which then may cascade into a bigger one. But appreciate the back and forth.
Super cool. Super cool. Yep. That's pretty much about it on that episode as far as comments goes. So nothing else on that one in particular. Anything else that you think is noteworthy or that you want to talk about?
Not really. I have unfortunate news that I got to restart Node Ice 45. So I'm starting at 1.
No way, Ben.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I forgot to hit buttons.
You didn't click the buttons, bro.
No, so I'm back to it. Pulling day 1 challenges right now. Let's do it. Oh, that's us talking in the background. I have exercise. I got to do no doom scrolling. I got to read, journal, and
show me
out.
Show me your challenges, bro.
Here they are.
Day 1, dude. No way.
Yeah, you can win now.
I'm gonna win now. There's no doubt about it.
We'll see. You just still got some traveling to do, so we'll see.
I'm staying fixated here, brother.
So that's us going through Node Ice 45 challenge, which is like a reset mindset challenge to help you get to a very good state, doing the things that can bring you a lot of joy and positive things in your life. But then also, if you don't feel like doing a challenge, we also have the ability to now set up your daily dues. So essentially with this is that it gives you full control over your phone. So you set the things that you want to do every single day and then block the time wasting apps so that you only get a certain amount of it. And you earn it by doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, that you want to be doing on a daily basis. So yeah, we're building Node Ice to basically be the accountability app. Of course, we're going after the gambling problem, which is really where the Node Ice 45 challenge focus is. But our bigger vision for this is basically to create a system and a platform that allows people to be accountable to themselves and their goals. What did I miss, Keith?
No, that's right on the money, man. The daily dues piece is a super powerful thing. It's like there's so many things on a daily basis that we wish that we were doing, and now we have a way to hold ourselves accountable and even put someone else in the loop to make sure that we're actually doing the things that we say we want to be doing. And so it's super exciting. I'm super excited to see where this is all going to go. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you download Node Ice. You can find the link in the description down below, or you can scan right here on the screen, and you'll get a 3-day free trial whenever you get started. So you can actually just see how this works and see how it's benefiting your life. And I promise you, if you spend some time doing it and use the app, it will make your life a lot better. So,
totally. And we built the Node Ice 45 challenge because we felt that a lot of people were in need of a reset for themselves, right? In terms of getting themselves back on track, building confidence and building in the groups, like support groups within themselves and the confidence within themselves, or support groups for themselves, and then confidence within themselves through doing things that we've had a lot of success with in our life to turn things around when not in the best place. But if you don't feel like you're in need of a reset or a challenge, then Daily Dues is there for you. And we do also have, as Keith alluded to, the accountability partner piece. So when you set your goals and how you want to structure your relationship to your phone, if you violate that, once you've added an accountability partner, they'll get notified. And so why that's such an important thing is because it's very easy to lie to yourself. It's a lot harder to lie to someone that you respect multiple times, especially, right? Because if you keep having to say, oh, like this happened, it's like maybe they'll give you that benefit of the doubt 1 or 2 times, but eventually you're lying, right? So that's a powerful thing. And if you know of anyone who has a child or someone who's struggling with either phone addiction or gambling addiction. We also built it in for that purpose too. So you as the parent could add yourself as the accountability partner, add in all the apps that they shouldn't be spending the time on. And then that way they can't just delete it and re-download it, because once it's blocked, you can't delete it. So that way you actually will get notified if they try to do that, basically. Did you guys place a bet on your anti-gambling app? No, we did not.
No, there was somebody reached out to us the other day asking us to promo their app. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, I was like, is this guy paying attention?
How much for promo, bro?
I couldn't believe that, man.
I don't think
See, look, when you try to go to delete this app that I have blocked, if I try to delete it because it's blocked, if I click delete, nothing happens.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
So that's why, because people be like, well, why would I download the app to block it? It's like, because that's the way that you can guarantee the kid isn't using it. Whereas if I delete another one, it goes bye-bye. What's up? What's going on?
No, that's fascinating. Well, yeah. So,
and currently, right now, we're working on making the courses that Keith's already built in there a lot more interactive. So soon there will be quizzes for each section, as well as like progress bars and things of that nature. So we are working on this app every single day to try to make it as valuable for you and as useful as possible. So that's the other benefit of an app like ours, is that it's like, you pay for it now. It's like, say you get the year, it's going to be a better product a month from now, like even more so, right? So like you're getting a better deal, because like we probably won't raise the price, but we'll see.
Over time, you never know. But yeah,
we'll see. Because we are adding a lot of stuff to this over time. So one way to lock in your rate is to obviously start now. I'll never raise the prices on people who have already like paid.
100%. Fantastic, folks. Anything else from you, Ben? Anything else you want to make sure we cover?
No, that's it, man. I got to get to my No Dice 45 tasks for the day. We appreciate all of y'all watching tremendously. This was a fun one, and we hope to have more conversations on with people from different walks of life, different opinions, all that good stuff. So continue to leave us suggestions in the comments. We do take them seriously, and we really appreciate them. And then also help us out by letting them know that our show exists, kind of thing. So that way, when we do reach out, it's not completely cold. That, along with us growing the show, will be some very important things to get guests on the show. So we appreciate you.
Totally.
Cool.
Appreciate you all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you holding it down in the chat, RD. And then thank you for producer Asipa in the background. We appreciate all y'all for hanging out with us as well. And we will see all of you legends on Thursday.
Make it the best day of your life, folks.
That's it.
Chat soon.
Be the light you want to see. We'll see all y'all Thursday. Peace.